Daiz will turn up tomorrow, mate. John weekend.
Shh.
Alrighty YouTube, welcome to another one of Kip's Clips, GUNN, live as always on fractalfrequency.co.uk. Make sure you get yourself along there. You shall get all the links below as well. So here we go. Guys, how you doing, man? I spoke to you for a while. I was catching up earlier on what you were doing on Friday. I must have got about an hour and 10 minutes or so into it, man. So great stuff, man. I heard you all talking on Friday about what was the, well, first, Peter, you were talking about the old Dutch, mate, beating the Spaniards. I was actually watching that live myself. So, Peter, how you doing, man?
I'm doing fine, man. I didn't watch the whole game because we were doing the show, but yeah, we kicked some ass.
I actually watched that for, I don't know, more recently I've not been into my football as much as I have been in the past years and whatnot, but I was watching a wee bit of it last night, and it was interesting and stuff, man. But it's good to get back to reality as such, man. Now,
England's up tonight or what?
Well, I think England game kicks off about back of 10. I think it's 10:30 or something that kicks off over here. So I can see England getting a doing, but I mean, it's
I don't even know who they're up against. So
Italy. They're playing Italy the night, man.
all right.
It's 11 o'clock kick off, isn't it?
The Pope versus the Queen. But one of the first things, right, and I see like look at the absolute hypocrisy of the bullcrap that's coming out right now. You'll see on the BBC. More recently, there are a lot of hit pieces that have been coming out on Brazil and the audacity of the Brazilian government to build stadium when poverty still exists in their country. Now, I would have no problem with that argument. In fact, I don't actually quite support the argument, but when you get the hypocrites such as the BBC and so on standing up there and filling your head full of this shite when they can't use the same analogies when it comes to the Commonwealth Games or Euro 96 or all the tournaments that have been hosted in, let's say, Western or NATO-friendly countries that are out with the new economic bloc of the BRICS. But as soon as somebody else out with the economic powers of the West dares to put on a show and tries to build stadium when poverty still exists in their country, it's just a sham. It's not so hard to disagree with the argument. It's just the hypocrisy absolutely stinks. Daiz, I don't know. Have you seen that, mate? Just the absolute hypocrisy coming out of the media right now. I know you follow your football and that a wee bit as well, mate. So you might have caught it in the media where they're quite happy to, England, look at England and look at the BBC studio. The BBC studio, how many thousands of pounds does that cost? Why didn't they bloody go and save a homeless man for the amount of money that cost them to put their studio together and stuff? So, Daiz, have you caught the hypocrisy on the mainstream media when it comes to the World Cup and just the two stories they're trying to tell, man?
Do you know, Kip, it's now that you point it out, and it was yourself that drew my attention to the formation of the BRICS companies in the first place. You know, I wasn't really aware of that happening at the time. You know, but I just thought to myself when I seen those scenes, they couldn't hide it anymore. It was so blatant. To see that Adrian Childs, to see him sort of cowering when the fucking when the studio's getting lit with bricks and stuff like that, because what they're trying to show you, you know what I mean, with these people on all this money, you know what I mean, I love the game, you know what I mean, but there's still in this day and age there is children starving to death in their mother's arms on this planet, you know what I mean, and people are getting paid £1 million a month, you know what I mean. So for me, that's what I concentrated on. I was like, you can't hide this anymore. They're fucking throwing bricks at the studio at half time and all that, you know what I mean. But see, now that you say it, it's all the attention is brought to it because it's Brazil, isn't it? It's a bricks company. When that injustice has been there before in previous regimes that the Western powers have supported.
Mate, I've missed all the. I mean, literally, I switched the game on, kick off, watched the game, and then more or less switched it off. And I haven't caught much of the. Well, I haven't, mate. The only thing I heard about the studio getting attacked in the Adrian Childs thing was actually it was yourself that brought it up. It was well, only got about an hour and 10 minutes into the hangout on Friday. And you did bring it up, and that was the first I heard about it. So I don't know, man. For me, elaborate on what happened there, mate. Was it on live TV?
It's just quite funny, man. It's like I don't know if it was Big SIA it was on, and Adrian Childs and somebody else, but they're trying to discuss the game or whatever, and it's fucking bricks off the studio window and all that. You know what I mean? So, but how much is? Well, it is. It's a. The people are on the streets of Brazil. You know what I mean? They're fucking had enough of it. But
again,
result, I mean, they got a good result the other night, which sort of shows you how easily swayed the psyche is, you know, that they get a couple of goals and it's maybe not going to turn into a fucking riot, like, right away, you know?
Well, it started with the food riots. And
But you can see them, yeah.
I think it's very much a cover-up, the whole Olympic stuff and football stuff. It's very much a cover-up with all the sort of turmoil going on in the whole of South America.
Yeah, because, I mean, I'm not a fan of football. You could write what I know about football on the back of a postage stamp and proud of it. But, you know, seriously, I would argue, I've not even looked, I mean, I'd read something about it earlier, but do you know what? Let's look at the facts here. Get the distraction away from the UK and its poverty. I would actually question who threw the rocks. Was it staged? Because there's been absolute abject poverty and misery in that country for the vast majority of the population for a long time. Okay, and they've had sporting events there for a long time. They're not even hiding it. They don't care. Their population is well under the thumb. So what's the real reason behind it? You know, that what you may think is poverty in the UK, well, that's nothing to poverty elsewhere. So you should be feeling very good about your life in the UK as opposed to other places. To me, it's another one of these smoke and mirror scenarios to get people feeling guilty about even the poverty, their own poverty. Well, at least I'm not having such a tough time as those people across there. They know this. And they also know that, look, you go back to the 80s, nobody blinked about the starving kids in Africa. As long as they could put their hands in their pockets, hand 10 quid, 20 quid, whatever amount of quid across, and they felt they were doing something.
The black babies. That's what it was called in Moscow. The black babies.
All it did fund the agenda in Africa. It didn't go to the starving. Oh, here, you don't need food, you need a vaccine. That's what you need. You don't need nutrition, you need a vaccine. Here, have this with thimerosal and, you know, 1,000 other things that even in this country, in the UK, they'll still queue up, never reading one ingredient. You know, all these mothers that say, oh God, what I would do for my child. But not read the ingredients of these things that I'm getting injected into every fucking minute of the day in some respects. Not a problem at all. It's pressure. It's just absolutely the case. You know, and you know, going back to, you know, this World Cup, they never they had no problem about it before. You know, they have extreme wealth there and extreme poverty. The population, by and large, has been groomed to accept it. Now, if the population has been groomed to accept it, what likelihood are you in an external situation going to help them? None. So what's it about? It's about making you feel that your situation isn't as bad as others.
And if you look even back 4 years, obviously South Africa falls into the same bracket as the BRICS, obviously being one of the founding members, because it is expanding. And even the propaganda that surrounded South Africa, it was more focused on the crime, the poverty, and it's not to say that these things don't exist, but it's the hypocritical factor that, like as you're saying, that the BBC turning up there and going, right, well, let's concentrate on South Africa's poverty right now. Now, Daiz, Scott, this might even mean something to you as well. Right now, we've got the Commonwealth Games just about to kick off up this neck of the wood. I don't see any of the reports about the abject poverty sitting right next to the Commonwealth Games.
Oh, exactly. There's no way they would go down that line. Not a chance.
I don't see feck all about what they've went and done at the East End of Glasgow, because it's all dressed up. We're regenerating the area, but in Brazil it's look at they're building a stadium next to these poor people. They're bad folk over there. But hey, in Scotland, we're building a big stadium next to one of the biggest slums in the sickest city of Europe. Yeah. But hey, we're regenerating the area. We're not sort of allowing the elite to flourish and letting the poor and impoverished fake off to another neck of the wood. Because if you go and look at the area of the East End, they've flung so many folk out their houses doing this. Now, do you think they are moving these people to nice new plush, fancy flats and stuff, the vast majority are getting moved from one slum to the next. They aren't getting offered anything better. So it's the absolute hypocrisy that I don't know. It really does my tits in, to be honest.
Well, wasn't it Glasgow where they were planning on blowing up 5 sets of flats that were perfectly functional for no other reason than to part of the celebration of the crossing Glasgow?
They're not still doing it. There's been a bit of a outcry. I don't know if they're going to go ahead with it or not.
Well, apparently the last time I read, they said they were not going to go ahead with it. They were going to blow, I think it was 5 sets of flats of 6 or some kind, you know, and obviously maybe they had some symbolic meaning to that.
Well, they'll dress up the front couple of streets, won't they? Where people will see, you know, where the rest of the world will see, and then the street behind that, they'll be left to their desolation, their current desolation.
It's for those flats that were planned to. And again, man, we need to go back to the absolute bizarreness of, hey, welcome to Scotland. Want to join in the celebrations for the Commonwealth Games? Watch us blow up some slums.
Yeah, basically, yeah, that was it. You know, look at these poor people's accommodation. We're just going to blow up willy nilly because that's all they're worth. You know?
It's not a starter gun. It's a car alarm that's going to go off to start their races. You know.
Yeah. I would love somebody to pay. I would love somebody to pay for one of those airplane messages, right? And I think these are right, guys. I think they've pulled the plug on it. Last thing I heard, they weren't going ahead with it to demolish the flats. But if they were, I think it would be quite funny to pay for one of those airplane messages. Just as they're blowing up the flats, just to announce the amount of homeless people staying in Scotland or even Glasgow or the local area or the UK as a whole, not to mention the recent thing we've seen with the bloody homeless spikes down in London and stuff, and they're quite happy here. We're going to blow up all these fucking slums so there's more homeless people, because if you ain't cool in the gang, you ain't a useful subject, get in the streets, because there's nowhere left for you to sleep. Because we've now got homeless spikes out for you and shit. You're fucked if you don't want to be cool in the gang.
But there was some honesty in that, if you think about it, with the spikes, because it's the way they treat problems. You know, they'll never cure anything. They'll never solve it. They'll put a plaster or a band-aid over it, or something to take that problem elsewhere. As long as it's not near me, I'm fine. You know, that kind of mindset. You know, that's never do you see them creating solutions to things. Except apparently the final solution. 1 second. Somebody else talk. Hello?
That incident with the spikes, it lays bare the mentality, the ruling elite. You know, it literally equates the destitute with vermin. I think that was the best comment I've seen on it.
Yes, and I would agree with that, because that's basically what they're trying to do. You know, use imagery for anchoring, and then associate it with something. It's usually it's another variant of the old mystery schools, isn't it? It's using all that secret knowledge, that esoteric knowledge to create a goal. And unless people address the true problems, which is that cult society within a society, we could be bumping our gums for the duration, and we'll never get any further forward. Because I mean, everything else is about guilt association, isn't it? It really is. And even a lot of what I'm noticing lately, it's still focused on this witchcraft of political correctness and all the rest of it. And the truth is, as you know yourselves, in some respects painful to hear, because it makes us look at ourselves. And it is a question of us looking at each other and saying, do you know what? What are we prepared to accept, and what aren't we? And are we looking for others to address that problem, or are we going to take that on board more of ourselves? Because we need to look at solutions on the long term, because we have a fucking parasite cancer sitting on every single aspect of our lives, and it's not getting any better. It's getting worse and worse and worse. And that's
Daiz, what you were saying there about the spikes and it being in a sense the homeless compared to rodents and whatnot. I don't know if it might have even been with ourselves, guys, that I heard this getting referred to. I can't remember if it was when I was kicking about with my family last few days, but somebody mentioned to me that the homeless spikes are kind of exactly the same as the spikes. Now, I stay in a high-rise building, and they put up spikes to stop pigeons, right? Because obviously pigeons are a problem. And that's exactly what it is. It's like, well, here's spikes for these pests, these rodents, the pigeons, not to come where they're not wanted. And then we're seeing the exact same thing getting rolled out for homeless folk.
It also harks back to Goebbels.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's nothing new.
It's the Eternal Jew, where he would splice films of Jewish scenes, family scenes, and up with sewer rats and stuff like that, to reinforce it in the German subconscious, you know, to equate their enemy, you know, their supposed enemy at the time.
The rats has been the image for many decades of association with vermin, because it goes back to the Black Death, doesn't it? I wish Cookie was here.
Yep.
But it goes back to the Black
He's coming.
Death.
He's coming any minute. He's
rats,
putting on his beard.
Like, a lot of people refer to pigeons and stuff like that as flying rats, you know, so there is a sort of direct connotation there.
Well, what you're saying there, Peter, you're saying Cookie's going to bounce in. I don't think...
Yeah, he's just putting on his beard and then he's coming.
Putting on his costume.
Yep.
Putting on his cape. And but Cookie, as well as everybody else, is always welcome in. Let me quickly butter into the chat room and just see who's about. So Cookie, James owns in the chat room, and Jean's Pretty Pops is in as well. So thanks everybody that's turned up the chat room. There's Made in the UK 77 as well. Don't know, I was just waiting for somebody to ask me when I'm going back to sleep, but that has not occurred yet. But I can press the refresh button and that may be remedied.
Anytime now, people. Anytime now.
Listen to him.
I think that's supposed to be the Dutch version of something stupid.
Some hypnotic music. Well, it's not working. Damn.
Send Kit to sleep. I got you straight away, Peter, what you were doing there.
You need to know the trigger word. See, the thing is, I went to a hypnosis. I went to hypnosis 5 years ago, and the guy's implanted a trigger word in my head, and I think he's came across my YouTube channel. And he just comes in my YouTube channel and says a word, and I'm back to sleep, man. I'm beat. So we went for the BBC talking about paellas. No, sorry, that's Spain. The BBC talking about favelas, or however you pronounce it, what they deem slums in Brazil.
Favelas.
Is it fi or favelas? Jesus, that word.
Favelas.
Favelas. We'll go with Peters.
He can say it better than me. But the BBC absolutely, again, king of the fucking hypocrisies, like trying to say that their poverty is worse than our poverty. This starving guy is worse than our starving guy because our starving guy has a pair of Nike trainers on. He's a good.
Yeah, but I mean, also it desensitizes us. Let's be honest. 30 years ago, I mean, no jokes. If you should just time warp people even 30 years from, and drag them now, they would be horrified looking at the average high street. They would be utterly horrified, And how much have we been desensitized to that in the last 30 years? As I said, we can point fingers at everybody left, right, and center, but we have to recognize that as a society in general, we have been desensitized to so much pain and misery and all the rest of it. And I would argue that probably 90% plus of these football supporters won't give two flying tosses about the misery of whoever around whatever area. It is about the numbers and did their team win. And that's where we're at. And I would have thought that's more important to recognise.
Definitely, Scott, see what you're saying, man. Go and look at your and let's know, like, point the finger and go, oh, you're a football fan, you're an idiot. I watch football myself, man. You ain't an idiot if you support football. I'm talking more in general brushstrokes here. And if you go and look at over the last few days, I've checked out a few games. If you looked in the crowd, it all tends to be countries that a middle class is still functioning. I mean, I was watching the other night and I was looking at Australia and New Zealand. You know, those two countries typically can't kick a football straight, right? They ain't footballing countries.
Australia coming on, mate.
Well, definitely, mate. And over the last 15 to 20 years, they have had a real. They've had a few quality players. I mean, I watched Cahill heading in a goal the other night for Australia. I can't remember the full score. Just caught his goal. Used to play for Everton, and I even go back to remembering about Viduka. Rangers had a good few Australian players through the ranks at one point. I think was it Vidma?
Young Roger Celtic as well now, but he's had injury problems.
So, like, certainly they're up to a certain standard, and but they aren't a footballing nation, but they've been turned that way because of the commercial aspect. I would suggest that they've been turned that way for the commercial aspect. If you go and look at the nations that tend to turn up at the football and World Cup, it tends to be the countries that can offer more economically.
More than a rugby, really, aren't they?
Yeah, but go back to what we were saying, Kip, about rollerball. It's only an extension of that. You know, go back to Huxley with the bread and circuses. You know, if kicking wombats about the pitch got more numbers in, for argument's sake, and nobody was pissed off about that, and that was the most popular thing on the planet, they'd do it. You know, so it really doesn't matter what ball game we're talking about here. It's about prioritizing what people should care about and what they shouldn't care about. You know?
Talking about the analogy with rollerball, man, and I urge everybody to go and do this. Go and watch this. Go and watch the film and replace rollerball with X Factor, Britain's Got Talent, World Cup, European, and it's setting people up like the same mentality here. Don't be angry about this. Go and support your team and take out all your frustrations on people kicking a ball about. Now, I noticed Cookie's came in the room. Cookie, how you doing, man?
Hello, can you hear me?
Loud and clear, man.
I was wondering if my voice was working as well. So, hello, not too bad. You alright?
You have a late one or something?
Hey? No, I've just not been that well recently, so just a bit distracted. Had a few too many painkillers, I think, so I'm a bit spaced out.
You know, believe it or not, things like ginger and a few other things are actually as potent as a painkiller as anything else you can take.
Cool.
You know,
Next
honestly,
time, mate, I'll buy more ginger.
Seriously, I was amazed. You know.
Do you mean a bottle of Iron Brew, Scott?
No, I'm talking about ginger, not the Ouija, not the Ouija.
It's not the Glaswegian typical ginger.
He's a ball of your ginger, Ken. Rainy bar. No.
Excellent as tea.
I'm not going down that colloquialism, but anyway. But no, it's just good banter. But no, seriously, things like ginger are actually phenomenal for pain relief.
Well, we're touching on it, like rollerball, the Big Brother, the rollerball, the World Cup, and all the crap that our brains are getting filled with. And before we kicked off tonight, the one thing I wanted to talk about, man, and I'd be interested to hear what everybody's thoughts on this is, because I'm pretty sure everybody's got an opinion. I mean, it's within the last week or two or something. We were talking about Big Brother, and Daiz talked about the production company, or the company that came up with the concept of Big Brother, was a company called End Them All, which I only heard through Daiz. I've never checked that out myself. We can lay the blame at Peter's.
Dutch.
I was going to say we can lay the blame at Peter's camp, because it was a Dutch company, Peter.
Mm-hmm. It's Joop van den Ende and John de Mol. It's two people, and de Mol.
Right. So
my conviction about Big Brother has always been that as more and more of what was going on became apparent to people, there was people sitting on buses and trains going, do you know, every day feels more like Big Brother. Now, you put that show on, because remember, there's always got to be multiple outcomes, right? So you've got to get more than one outcome out of this. Now, one of the outcomes naturally was anybody who heard the word Big Brother on a bus or train from then on in was thinking they were talking about a TV program. That's number one. Plus, it was getting used to people being under cameras day and night, and feeling that they were part of the celebrity thing. And then,
Mate, I'm sorry to cut you off, right? But see the fucking point you're making right now. It's so pertinent to this story, man. And I've been waiting from Sunday from GUNN for the right moment to kind of bring it up, man. But
No
see what
problem.
you're saying? Honestly, man.
Yep.
It's like Tesla cars, right? Let me see if I can bring this link up for people here.
Or are you talking about Tesla cars have decided to hand over all their patents to everybody?
Exactly. Now, what I'm thinking with that story is, is that about the actual story, or is that about future searches? People who are future searching and they type in Tesla patents, they're now going to not only receive stuff about Nikola Tesla's work and his patents being stolen, they're going to receive information regarding Tesla cars' patents.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, Daiz make magic, because we've even spoke about being Google washed and stuff, and that meme came from the No Agenda show when they were talking about like exactly what we're saying here, whether is there.
That's why Katy Perry called her album Prism. Google wash.
Get it top of the searches. Now, if you type in Big Brother, like you're saying, you'll get 1,000,001 TV shows in 1,000,001 different countries. This get brought up a time when we were on GUNN and we were interviewing Freeman Fly, and I'd mentioned this to Kev about, well, let's look at, well, I don't know, let's think about the conspiracy behind the conspiracy. When you now type Freeman into a Google engine, you get Freeman Fly and esoteric stuff up the top of that search. You don't get stuff about people going into court and turning these motherfuckers over, using the legal, lawful stuff, right? You don't get brought down that route. If you go, hey, Freeman, boom, Freeman Fly, and very engaging, man. I love his stuff, massive fucking fan of him, man. I wouldn't say anything less. But again, try and think whether, is that being positioned in such a way to make it like the old Google washed, or to make sure that anybody searching for Freeman stuff gets took down a particular route. Exactly what you're saying.
You make a very valid point. Absolutely. You know, and as long as you keep an open mind on those things, yeah, definitely.
See what I've noticed, guys, about this Big Brother thing, right? I need to admit, man, when Big Brother first kicked off, I wouldn't say so much I'm a fan, right? I would say that I've kept a note of it. I've watched it fairly. I've watched it quite a lot, man, over the years. My defence, and whether this is just a defence I'm offering up, is that I love to hate it. I do love to hate it. It's even when I watch the soaps, I love to hate it. I love to pick it apart and try and see the bullcrap they're trying to feed into your head. Now, one of the things I take away from Big Brother is all these motherfuckers turning up on screen and going, all I am is real. I'm being straight and up front, and all I can do is shoot from the hip and be straight. All these are people are talking about being rude, arrogant, undemocratic, no bloody negotiation skills. Just, I don't like that about you. So rather than try and discuss that with you in any sort of a positive level, I'm just going to stand in front of you and insult you till the day is long, because that way I am seen as being fake. I am real. And I'm sick of this, man. This is what's getting fed into people as being the thing that you need to live up to. Don't be fake. You got to be real. You got to be true to yourself. Well, this is disengaging the brain.
But that's another example of, if you read in between the lines, it's do what thou wilt. It's more about that, right? And you know, the illusion. I think it was said in a film actually from the 90s, that mainstream film. What was that again? It was, you know, set about, you know, Beatles attacking the Earth and all the rest of it. What was that called again?
Starship Troopers, yeah.
You know, it was when that
Dutch film director.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry.
That tutor who eventually gets re-enlisted, but it's when the tutor said, the only freedom you've got is the decision that you're going to make here. And I thought that's about the sum and total of it. Do you want to be a citizen, or do you want to be blah, blah, blah? And it's true, because the rest is, every decision is made for you.
Well, that's the director said in an interview in Dutch. He said that it was to point out the ridiculousness of the American system, the whole movie. And that's why it never was a big success. He also made RoboCop. That's also...
all he was doing was externalizing the hierarchy in the sense that he was showing you where things were going.
Yeah.
You know, for those, I mean, exactly, it's another variant of, you know, the rollerballs, the Logan's runs.
Yeah, there are people out there who really want to, I think, point out things. And not so much in a conspiracy kind of way, but they have to be careful, you know?
Culture war.
Yeah.
It is culture war. I think that's something that is often lost in the... it becomes a very egotistical, narcissistic game of needing to find all the intricate details of the truth that drags people down loads and loads of rabbit holes in the so-called truth movement. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know, it can drag people off into looking at speculations of, is all this done deliberately? Is everything a hoax? All that kind of stuff. Whereas really, I find the truth of it is that there are people out there that may not necessarily see things in the kind of depth that you feel you see them at, but they see something and they want to try and express it. And most of the time, it seems to me that that's indicative of the generally good-natured, true nature of human beings, because they're saying it, but they're doing it in a way that they feel they're able to, so they put it in via these kind of cultural aspects through art, etc., you know, or through music.
I think a lot of them know how you end up if you stick your head out too much, you know, you get a little comfort.
There's nothing wrong with sticking your head out too much. The worst thing that can happen to you is people take you seriously in the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and then millions. That then...
Yeah, well, that's what happens with certain musicians. And
that's true of any idea, though, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
You know, that then takes you into the kind of conceptual war of ideas, and the majority of what's going on here is you've got a small group of people who've got their ideas about how the world should be run. In other words, they want to be in charge and have everything, and they're trying to convince everybody else to go along with their idea. And we're trying to convince people that no, that's not a good idea. You know?
Yeah.
It emanates through culture in that kind of cultural war aspect. I mean, there's so many different films we could name. Yeah.
I think in 1984, for instance, you can say it's a manual, but you can also say it's a warning. You know, it's two things. Depends who reads it and how you want to read it.
A lot of the time, there is a really muddy ground, muddied waters smear between what you could call deliberate pre-programming or agenda-driven manipulation for agenda reasons, and what is a natural emanation of culture through the dominant ideas that are occupying the global consciousness. And that's not in any kind of weird, airy-fairy hippie idea. It's just sociology of how people express their environment.
Yeah, so, and that's what makes this so difficult.
Yeah. Why have we seen so much interest in a public sense, so much public interest in the kind of sci-fi dystopian dangers, you know, classically things like 1984, Terminator movies, all that kind of, the machines are coming to get us, the nasty Borg is going to kill us. To me, that's an emanation that the general nature of the populace is looking at this rising technology and looking at it with concern, and they're expressing that concern.
And it sells good.
Yes, it occupies people's attention because it's a potential.
It's either that, a lot of explosions and dead people, or nude women.
That's where I would argue that's verging into agenda of drawing people into the classic tragedy paradigm of there must be perpetual war, might is right, use of force, all that kind of shit, as well as the warrior and princess programming and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's why we're so stuck.
Well, it's pointless trying to wake up the public. If you've studied this long enough, you're wasting your time. I mean, I decided a while ago that for who you need to be waking up is the lower echelons of the Freemasonry, because the public, will do jack shit. Even if they're scared or well aware of it or whatever else, they'll just shake and cower. They're not, very few of them have got the ability to organise in such a way that they're not painfully obvious as a target. They can't just communicate with their family, friends, whatever else, and have the spine to actually keep saying it until enough people, you know, make that transition. That's beyond most people. They just won't. They'll go into the intellectual this, they'll bore the shit out of you about the last 3,000 years or whatever, but they won't embrace it themselves. They won't just stand there and every time somebody's having a conversation with them, will say that this is the reason why and go fucking find out about it. And don't bore me anymore with your problems. And sometimes you have to be blunt. I have little to no faith in the public, and it's not being nasty. It's from years of experience, and people could counter-argue and say, no, it's the way you were saying it, Scott. No, I've seen so many people try. It's not.
No, I agree. I agree. I totally agree. I think, but it's their hands are tied in so many ways. You see the mortgage, job, religion. You know, you can name 1,000 things. You know.
I agree in general, especially on the point. I mean, you're saying it as in the lower orders of masonry, which would include people like your general police and military office.
Yeah, and councils and all the rest of it. Yeah, absolutely. When they realise that they're bringing about joining. Yeah,
I definitely agree in that respect, because it's the main sticking point for any of this actually reaching such a level that it affects a very large change, not some local or, you know, isolated change, but spreading out globally, hopefully, is by addressing the enforcers. And the majority of the enforcers are drawn into this whole structure via things such as the Masonic orders. So, you know, we've got to address the enforcers more than anybody else. The general public, unfortunately, I know sheeple is often used as a label in a very derogatory sense. I'm more inclined to say sleeple. These are the people who, for one reason or another, don't want to look, don't want to listen. They're just happy going about their day. You know, they're either afraid of hearing it or whatever.
Many of them, they've been emasculated. The males have been emasculated.
They've been entrained into it.
You know,
that's why I often refer to it as people being the house nigger or the gimp, because that is the way they are attempting to mass control people mentally, because they don't have the physical resources to use force to control everyone. So they try to emasculate you and dumb you down and keep you subdued so you stay good, happy, fat cattle. Hopefully, you know, mostly fat if you look at it. But that's the point. The majority of people like that will only start moving towards what you're doing when they perceive it as being trendy and popular and the new good idea. You know, it's an unfortunate reality that for a lot of people, they either don't have the time or energy or willingness or courage, or they're unaware of even the possibility. They don't want to look into this stuff. They don't want to shake their own paradigm because they're worried that they'll fall through the cracks and they'll be lost forever, all those kind of fears. So they won't go along with it until they see it being made trendy, because that's what they're used to, following the trends that they're given from up above. Sorry, long ranting.
I've spoke to you lots of times, man, and I'd be surprised if we'd never even touched on the TV programme Big Brother at some point. But as everybody was saying there, yeah, it's getting used to people having the cameras. It's actually even people, it's implanting into people's heads. It's good to get watched all the time, because then you're less fake or you're more real. But like, you've got the predictive programming of the cameras, the Big Brother. You can even talk about the Google wash of the name Big Brother itself. But what I noticed more recently, the last couple of days, and even it's more obvious. It's more obvious as every series of Big Brother goes on, and people knows what it's expected, know what's happened before, and they go on there with trying to project a perception that they think's acceptable. And the one thing I notice is just all these attitudes, people with these horrible attitudes. If you bump into somebody like that on a day-to-day basis, and you try and have, I don't know, you bump into them in the bus stop and you try and have a nice conversation, they're trying to promote the what the fuck are you talking to? Why are you talking to me? Do I know you? You're rather than going, all right, how you doing? Nice day. Nobody's asking you to tell them the exact truth of what the weather's like. It's just a general bit of chit chat. It's as if they're trying to strip away people's manners or ability to communicate with each other without exchanging fucking insults. Correct me if I'm wrong, man. See when you said out with folk, these never come across people that their method of communication is insults. You take away insults, they can't communicate with you, and they'll have all the patter and all the recent insults and that, which is fair good, man. It is good. I don't know if you use it, even if you use it sparingly, man. Just if you have more strings to your bow. But there literally is people out there whose ability to communicate relies on their ability to insult folk, man. And it's for me that, like, when if I come across folk like that, man, I'm very tolerant and stuff, so I can happily sit there and go and hold my tongue. And you know what, in a day-to-day, in your day-to-day life, I don't know, maybe it's just where I hang about and stuff, but you need to learn to do that, otherwise you're going to be in fucking boxing matches with folk every other day because you encounter idiots, man. Idiots are unfortunately a fact of life. So a good life skill to have is how to interact with idiots, how to converse with somebody who is looking for a fight and being able to talk to them without having to resort to violence. But if you watch Big Brother, and you could argue all the other programs that have came out of Big Brother, it's all about these people. I ain't fake, I ain't two-faced, anything I say behind somebody's back, I say to their face. I mean, do we live in a world that you can't have? I mean, look at this thing with the, even talking about football, more recently there was the head of the FA. I never paid attention to it because I seen it for what it was, absolute bullcrap. But the head of the FA, somehow somebody got hold of one of his private personal emails, and there was a suggestion that he might have been a bit, I was going to say Masonic there, but he was being a bit harsh on women. He was a misogynist, that's the word I'm looking for. But people don't see that as an attack on a person's right and privilege to have a private conversation and use whatever words, terms, and saying is appropriate in that conversation. Now, unfortunately, we don't have a woman in the room right now, so I would hate to go down the route like we're all misogynists and shit.
Oh, but believe me, I'm going to get that organised over the next few weeks. Believe me, I've got plenty of female friends that I know who would certainly let it rip big style. You see, I'm glad you came out with that, because it was initially about divide and conquer. So right in the guts of it, what do you divide and conquer first? Man and women. Now remember, ideally, people keep forgetting this. Women were primarily the educators in many senses. They educated their sons and daughters about compassion, humanity, so many other things.
I would also argue they've not been as hard done by as is commonly perceived. Women have been in places of power in the past. I mean, they haven't been this downtrodden race that is the common perception. I would maybe argue, man. Look at the women rulers we've had.
Yeah, exactly. This is what I'm saying. They weren't in a situation where they were actually downtrodden. I think it was Daiz that was mentioning. I think it was another show about. He was talking about freedom to fascism. You remember that, Daiz? Yeah. And actually, what it was Edward Bernays was asked to create the suffragettes, and he got some high-class occultist tarts who were up for anything and swing more ways than whatever, even back then, to run about with torches of liberty and empower. But it's like that. It's like abortion, isn't it? Your right to choose. No, it was killing. It was mass murder in plain sight and selling it to a public that was so fucking thick they actually believed that shit. And it was always about eugenics. But it's the power of the media and imagery and who you've got saying that. That's always important. I remember in the early 1900s, had all these female flyers and all the rest of it. You go, girl, you do this, and it was empowering women. Women were doing a stunning job for, since history began. I mean, if you didn't have a good woman behind you, you're on your own. That's just common sense. But they've taken it to levels consistently now, and especially with, you know, Beyonce types and whoever. You know, I'm empowering women. What, by running around in a thong? Are you kidding me? You know, seriously, this is empowering women to sell pretty much legalized prostitution and telling kids at 5-6-year-old that, you know, by the time they hit puberty, they should already be thinking about dancing around a bloody pole.
And Scott, like, it hasn't stopped me. You just need to look at the most recent, right, the anti-Russia campaign that's going on just now. And again, I don't even know if we need to go over old ground. It ain't that Russia's the bastion of all freedom. It's just when you need to call a hypocrite for being a hypocrite. And you've recently had these women cutting down crosses and stuff with their top off, as if that's liberating women and they're promoting rights in some.
There's a falling for that shit as well, because I see it all the time where they keep saying, "Oh well, religion's the reason for all wars." That's bollocks.
Do you know though, Scott? Just going back to the freedom of fascism thing. The thing that stood out for me with Aaron Russo was that, well, his friend Nick Rockefeller described how basically his family funded the feminist movement, and the reason behind it was,
to that point, they could only tax one half of the population, which was the males. But remember how I said to you, they always have to have multiple outcomes. They have to be successful on more than one level. So on that one, what were they doing? They were dividing the family straight away. They then, because they were both out working, they'd have to look after the kids. Well, there's your education system, so you've got your programming straight in again there. And of course, you were getting to tax both sexes opposed to just the male.
You just doubled you doubled your slaves by allowing the women to become part of the tax system.
But more importantly, making it look if it was their decision. That has to be paramount.
It's all for your public's good. Get the kids at the indoctrination centres early doors, because if you get the kid, they say if you get them before 7, obviously, give me a man until he's 7, you know. Give me a child until he's 7 and I'll give you the man. That's a famous quote by one of them. But
communist dude, I think, mate, like kind of was it no Hitler that came? Give me. I don't care about the.
You go far enough left, you go far enough right, you meet the same people, don't you?
Right, but that's it. Remember, they were all puppets, including Adolf. They were not main players. They were to be appearing as the main players.
One of the misconceptions has been programmed into people, which you could say is part of that kind of bread and circuses of creating a game of some kind that enables people to pick sides and then fight against each other, is that political left-right bollocks. Because there is no left-right. The only difference is between freedom, true self-authorship freedom, and external authoritarian control. So in other words, some kind of state or governmental system, whatever colour it takes, that's the only difference. But they give you one side of that argument and then split it into two pretend sides, left and right. It's bullshit.
The difference between freedom and choice. Freedom's freedom and choice is between two things.
Yeah, but remember, the priority...
Oh, you don't like Coke? You can have some Pepsi. You don't like VHS? You can have some Betamax, you know?
Yeah, but the problem people don't understand, and until they address it, this is just, well, what it is it's from within. It's that society within a society. We're not getting attacked from abroad here. And it doesn't matter which country we could be in just now. Doesn't matter where you are in the world. We're not being attacked from abroad. Wherever you want to point a finger at, we're being attacked from within. And until people recognize the society within a society, the rest is just fucking, just breathing air. Because if the agenda tomorrow was to make us the smartest race ever to grace this earth, that's exactly what would happen. And until people realize that they're, you meet occultists every day. You meet them. They're from all classes, all races, all sexes. You meet them every day. I can guarantee you probably know some as maybe even family and friends.
I suppose they
an
restrict the intellectual market just the way they restrict the financial market.
They've always lived pretty reasonable. They've always provided a function. And when you start, the times when you start noticing it straight off the bat is when you want to do business. It's when you want to try and succeed in anything. When you start meeting the bureaucracy, then you start finding the network, because those tied to it, even at a localized level, even if it's organizing a local meeting talking about any subject you like, it's at that stage you start meeting them. And until people understand that, because they're still talking about puppet politicians or even think tanks, that they have their place. But our true problem is that in amongst our society, is in amongst our communities. If you start looking at even people you maybe know in your village and look far about, all of a sudden you start finding common denominators about their family going right through hundreds of years, many of them. And this is why I'm saying this has been so successful. It's so networked. It's what we've always existed in.
Yeah, if you want to talk reality, I think you have to look at yourself as a consumer born with death. That's what you are.
In their system, yeah.
Yeah.
A consumer with a sell but a use by date.
That's already calculated. That's somewhere up in the Google Cloud.
On the physical 3D level.
They've got a calculator for that.
And they have a betting on it. So
Your stocks and shares and your birth certificate should be paying for everything.
Well, guys, that's us an hour in. I've promised my good lady I would keep this to 10 bells, so I can go over and see her tonight. So I'm going to try and stay as close to 10 o'clock as I can. I think we could possibly fire into the chat room, and then Dean, I was going to ask you, mate. As I said, I think it was about an hour, 5 minutes or something. I got into the Friday night in, and I can't remember the dude's name, but he's had the guy on talking about Yellowstone and stuff.
Oh, that.
So I've only caught bits and bobs, man, and obviously some of the stuff he was saying was hella interesting. So I don't know. Sorry, Dean, remind me to go back to you, man. I'll dip into the chat room. Then I don't know, Dean, if you could maybe just, I don't know, bring us up to speed on the old Yellowstone thing. I know that dude was going into a lot of stuff about the Ring of Fire and stuff on Friday. So it'd be good to hear from you on that, Dean. So in the chat room, we've got Lorraine Keegan. It's a new name. So thanks for checking it out, Lorraine. And Jean's pretty poppin'. There's Polly in again. Rocker Dodger. Kind of remember that name, mate. You have. In fact, I've just seen your avatar, so I remember your avatar more than your name, mate. So nice to see you back. There's John fucking New World Order in again. Society's in. And there's Stephen as well. How nice to see you, Steve, in the chat. So again, thanks to everybody joining in the chat. If anybody wants to get anything or anything they want to bring up, ask questions to anybody, just leave a note in the chat room, and we can definitely get the link out to you and stuff. So Dean, what was getting said about old Yellowstone last night, buddy?
Well, what it is the ring. If you look at everything, all the activity, it's all on the Ring of Fire. There's been major clusters at Yellowstone at the moment of hitting in some places 90, 100, 126 earthquakes in a day.
Is that like Dabu 7 material?
Sorry?
Dabu 7. That's as soon as you were talking about that, the first guy I could think of was Dabu 7. He talks about stuff like that all the time on YouTube.
Scott's name isn't Dabu 7, it's Dabu 7.
Yeah, I know, but there's Dabu, right? But I have to say this. If anybody has any understanding of the size of the super volcano sitting underneath Yellowstone, the only thing I could think of anywhere that could affect that, stop that, or encourage that is HAARP. The scalar waves, anything along those lines. Because if that went off, there's nothing that you can do about it. It may happen tomorrow, it may happen 500,000 years from now. But that's the type of piss she comes out with, of which lots of people go, oh, well, maybe Yellowstone will go off. Let's put it this way. You could hide at the bottom of the fucking sea. If that went off, you're still going to die, you know? So it's one of those things that's just like, well, what the fuck can you do about it? That really is one of those things where it's like, it's a distraction. It really is. And honestly, there's no way you can stop something like that. It is. That's it. It's fear porn. Yeah, thanks, Peter. That's exactly what it is.
Well, it's not really.
I'm an expert on that.
It's not really fear factor, is it? When it's a natural thing that's going on with the planet.
Yeah, but it's pointless.
We've been talking about it recently. It's like it gets everybody talking about. Well, let's face it. Kip said 10 o'clock. There's a good example. So say we do this till 10, or we do something tomorrow, or whenever else, right? It's where we go with these conversations on creating solutions. And
but see to back the other point up here. If there is geological information that's coming out right now that's relevant to this thing might be going fucking off, then I think that's worth talking about.
Well, just call me old-fashioned here.
Yeah, but running is pointless.
I've been hearing about that. That was
unless you have a spaceship. Then.
I just don't think there's anything wrong with talking about it.
Can I add in that exactly that point to me is the most relevant thing? Yes, I definitely agree with what you're saying about the Dabu kind of channels use this kind of information as fear porn because it's clickbait. They know people will click onto it and they'll get views and whatever. That to me is the point. There is a truth to the geological facts that there is stuff going on around Yellowstone at the moment that's a lot more activity than there has been for recorded history of that area that we know of. Yeah, so therefore that is interesting information. Yes, there's nothing you can do about it if it does go off. But the point is, it's still relevant information of what's going on in your environment at the moment and what could potentially happen. Yeah, I'd like to know if it's about to go off, because if it is about to go off, I want to go outside and sit and watch the fireworks. Because you can't run away from it, as Peter said, there's no point running, there's nowhere to run to. Yeah?
No, I mean, I can tell you right now.
For me is the crux point.
So many times.
That's for me the crux point. Please let me finish. Sorry, Scott, but that for me is the crux point. We need to be able to transmit this information, share this information, without people falling into the fear porn factor of it. And that is what we need to point out to people. Don't fall into this chasing the fear porn factor, because that's part of what they want to keep you in perpetual anxiety. Is there anything you can immediately do about it? No. Then it shouldn't be a worry to you. It's just another bit of information about your environment. It's good to be aware. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's the same with the solar flare stuff, the comet stuff. If
it's bullshit, it comes out in the wash. If it's bullshit,
it's all fact. It's
when we talk about it.
It's true. It's science. It's real. But yeah. What would the dinosaurs have done if they knew that the comet was coming? It's not like they would have.
Well, yeah, straight
built shelters.
Dinosaurs could have saved us.
Yeah,
it's what they do with harps. You know, they even admit it themselves. They put a beam using frequencies, you know, based in Alaska and various other places around the world. They then heat an area of the ionosphere about, what, 30 miles in circumference plus? They then move that fucking thing up or down, yeah? Thus exposing you, by the way, to the sun's radiation. Now that, I would have thought, was far more interesting, because that is real and it's happening right now. And it's something you can do something about. And that's happening.
I don't think it's a pie chart where we like a contest or a poll, like we need to talk about this for 15 minutes or that for 15 minutes, because we've got the rest of our lives. We've got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I've got all the time in the world. I investigate all available information all the time, and basically, I don't know, like pouring ridicule on an idea without investigation is the ultimate ignorance. for me.
Do you feel that we were pouring ridicule over it?
I just think that there's a danger we might go down that route.
No,
Well,
I
let
don't
me
think
explain it.
anybody's here to do that, man. I think it's good that it's getting discussed, even as Cookie said, summed up. It's good that it's getting talked about, man. Even, I mean, let's use an example. Dabu 7 channel. Do you hear the counter argument there? You'll hear his version of events and stuff, and there's no any balance. So I don't know, man. I love the fact that you've got people.
Oh, because if you do give some counter thingy, you call a troll, a Jew, I don't know what.
Yeah, and the net result is still the same. You're no fucking further down the line. And
No,
the
but
thing
that's
is,
what taboo is all about, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why I don't bother trying to compete with those guys, because that's what they want. It helps them fuel what they do. I just leave them alone, and I set up my own beacon and say to flash at as many people as possible, going, look, you don't need to look at that shit. That's just fear porn. If you want that information, the information's here. You can find it here, 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 here. But you don't need to just follow it because it's fear. It's making you afraid. Why do you need to flick that fear nipple? Are you that programmed of a mind slave that you react only to the fear nipple?
You could even use the Alex Jones argument, in the sense there's a lot of negatives that people can speak about with what Alex Jones brings to the table, but in the same token, and I think there's an argument to be had there about Alex Jones being he's brought up a lot of people who wouldn't be at the table discussing this stuff to the table, and then it's about making sure you don't get caught in that bubble or that clique, and still being willing to listen to the counter arguments without what you were saying, you're a Jew, you're a troll, you're this, you're that. People are so easy to call people X, Y, and Z because they do bring a different perspective on things. I mean, I think over the course of me doing my YouTube, I think I must have actually at some point, didn't go with the conspiracy storyline when it went to Holly Gregg, right? And I may have actually said, well, here, hold on, investigate that, people, and please, everybody, go and troll through back everything I've said, man. Go and check everything out about Holly Gregg. I ain't trying to keep people for the truth. But there was just one point I was getting gimp balls thrown in my mouth and that. We've got proof. We have evidence. What the fuck are you on about, man? You're living in cloud cuckoo land. There's these people that see shit that don't exist, man. And a lot of that can be attributed to being, oh, you're anti-Alex Jones. You're for the system or whatever. And I mean, I make no bones about it. Yellowstone and that sort of a stuff isn't top of my news cycle and stuff, but I still like to hear about it, man. I still like to dip in. I'm still interested in touching base with people who respect their point of view. Whether I'm going to sit there and go, right, well, hold on a sec, let me take all those facts down. Right, they are now facts for me. No, I'll take on board what they're saying, go in the memory bank, shake it around, and it will remain there as
data point.
Yeah, but you can find enough info on that. Just go on the earthquakes sites, just go on the geology sites.
I completely agree with
you. Don't have to go to fucking Dabu 7 for that information. Go to.
I don't know.
First go to the basics.
I mean, I thank you guys for giving me the idea to be going down the route of Google Plus and all the rest of it. And I was, people were asking me in the last few days, it's sad to say, but I could actually go into EVE Online and have a couple of hundred people on a Google Plus within, I reckon, 3 to 4 hours tops, all discussing whatever else. And I can assure you there is enough in EVE that have already told me they'll give me their EVE radio and all the rest of it. I'm looking at solutions in the long term. If I hear something like, I don't know, what's happening in fucking Yellowstone, I swear, all I can say on that one is, by all means, go read up about it, whatever else, blah, blah, blah. But I can assure you, knowing human nature, and I think you know this yourself, if we were doing shows about how to deal with what's going on just now, how it's affecting them directly, if there's any solutions regards what I said earlier, everything from council tax to how they're eating to how do they save themselves money, what should they be eating, all the rest of it, I can guarantee you, gentlemen, you would have far higher audiences almost overnight. Maybe not for the best of reasons necessarily, but because you are then talking about things that are directly affecting themselves. And for whatever motivations, whether it's about sexual performance or about longevity or about saving the money or looking better or any number of things, you would have a far higher audience. So the sooner we go down that line, that's my opinion, because I'm definitely looking at go that way myself. You know, but the best in the world, we have 18 watching just now.
Can I please give you a perspective that maybe, for me anyway, I see this, how it correlates exactly with what you've just been saying about making people feel empowered and actually being able to make changes in their life and address a lot of this stuff. The fear porn factor, for me, this is the direction I've come at it for a while, and why I still sort of will quite happily go back to that kind of stuff and try and help people get past it, is because when it comes down to it, why is it they gravitate towards it? It's because they've been programmed with a fear of death. And that fear of death is very core intrinsic to the way the authoritarian system works. And when you can get people to address that within themselves, I'm not saying people shouldn't be afraid of moving on to somewhere else, however it happens, whatever happens. Yeah, but the point is they propagate that within you and then use it to keep you addicted to them through that anxiety link of you need to constantly go back and reassure yourself in one way or another, either through religion or through socially accepted cultural norms, all this kind of stuff. Fear of death. So when you're looking constantly at that kind of negative information, whether it is bullshit or not, doesn't really matter. It's you gravitating along the lure of your own fear. And they know that, and they use it like a carrot on a stick. And for those people out there who are just exploiters, war profiteers, monetizers, who use that kind of fear porn clickbait to generate an income, they're just exploiting you. Do you really want to keep feeding that beast, or do you want to help yourself and move away from feeding that kind of bullshit?
I can totally understand.
And for me, getting people to address that fear of death within themselves, that will help them gravitate towards looking for information such as you've just described, Scott, which will then help them feel more empowered to actually make changes and affect the world. So that makes sense.
If they are willing to listen to the
But at the end of that is not selective editing to close your eyes to geological realities like Yellowstone might be presenting. I think that's selective editing, you know, on the other hand, not to look into that subject because it might be scary.
I'm not saying don't look at the subject, I'm saying, by the way, type it in, fucking knock yourselves out. Meanwhile, this show's on till 10. That's all I'd be saying, you know.
Show's on every night.
I think maybe a diplomatic way of saying it is other people prioritise that differently, man, and who can argue about people's priorities?
Okay, I'll tell you what, why don't we do Yellowstone? Just out of curiosity, let's go for this, because this is an experiment. Okay, so from what I studied on, for example, Yellowstone, probably, oh God, that'd be about 2 decades ago, although occasionally I will dance and have a wee look, but I'll look at it like I was looking at some scenery or looking at whatever else, you know, that's your chill time. You know, you're looking at a super volcano on a level that is beyond biblical. If that goes off, and there's every chance it may go off. It may go off now, it may go off 500,000 years from now, it may not go off for 1.5 million years. And by the way, that is absolute speculation on a level, you know, honestly. What
is the geological reality of it?
There is one thing technically that has the potential to maybe avoid that if it was used in that sense, would be HAARP. Absolutely. By its very nature. So if you were looking for a solution out of that, and we were full of people who were interested in along those lines, if you look into the technology in a deep level with scalar waves, etc., they could definitely manipulate it to cool down, to stop what it's doing, even for argument's sake, it was doing anything just now. They have absolute control with that kind of technology, and that goes back to Tesla yet again.
How do we come to a solution without understanding the current geological reality of the situation?
Well, all you need to know is there's the only tech in the world that would even come close to changing that. Let's face it, how many people that are on the Earth, if they stood on that fucking thing, it wouldn't blink. There's nothing that we can physically
I think there's many things I need to know about this situation. That's why I'm interested in about it.
you're talking about a pretty much a dead planet.
Just so you know, there are 10 super volcanoes on this planet.
Yeah, and Yellowstone being the largest one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but if that went off,
What's currently
trust me,
happening at
Well,
Yellowstone?
all of them.
you'd be dead.
We're fucked with all of them, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
One's bound to blow at some point, I'm sure.
Exactly. I mean, look. You could argue about the dinosaurs disappearing for either a
Dean,
meteorite or whatever.
Most
what is the
recent one was
current
26,000
geological
years ago.
reality with Yellowstone?
What's going on
Yeah.
now, Dean, with the
What's going on? What was the report you were going to use initially about it?
Interest. God, just can't be asked, like. God, but.
It was Clinton that was on last night, and he was saying there was more.
Like Scott
There was
said,
like a sort of.
you know what I mean? I've totally lost interest. Can't be asked.
It's one of these subjects, honestly, with the best will in the world. It's something, by all means, take an interest in it. Like you would take an interest in birds.
What you're actually doing is you're actually taking over and pushing your agenda. That is what you're doing. It's a show to put information out, not to take over and push your agenda all the time. Simple. It's people getting together and talking. I mean, all I heard through that is I. You know what I mean? There's people here, other people want to put things across, not to be slagged down and taken over and saying, oh, it's a fucking pointless conversation. This is why I sit quiet. Because I don't want to get into a confrontation.
Well, you need to get over that. You need to be confrontational. Because if you are going to sit quiet about anything, there's no point to that one, is there?
Nobody needs
I don't think I was being rude.
Grown-ups having a conversation, man. It's not about my daddy's bigger than your daddy, man. I mean, by all means, say like, here, look, I don't prioritise what you're talking about. But man, if
exactly. I mean, you asked my opinion, and I was outblasted and overtaken. So I shut up, and no, I am not interested in elaborating on it any further. Because I do not listen to Taboo 7, which you keep pushing and you seem to have a bee in your bonnet about.
Who's you? Who's you? Who's you?
Scott, you seem to have a bee in your bonnet about...
Well, obviously, look, I'm not being productive here. I mean, look, the last thing I want to do is to destroy what you guys are doing here, okay? So probably the best option is I don't do it again with yourselves, because that'll be, what, twice in a fucking row?
But that's kind of productive as well, man.
I'm not, seriously, no offence, but seriously, gentlemen, right? Honestly, fuck me. That's why we're in this situation. Because no fucker actually, you know, by all means, call me a bold whatever, say whatever. I'm not going to cry about it. We'll get debate. We'll get whatever. You've not offended me in any way, shape, or form. But I can't do the kid gloves things either. Do you know what I'm saying? If you think I'm being out of order or taking over whatever, by all means say it. You know, I'm not going to fall out with you. But I was just, you know.
He just did.
Perspective, Scott.
Man, nobody's here to trade insults, right, man? Look. This is not a place for fucking trading insults, man. Scott, you're welcome. Dean, you're welcome. Every point of view is welcome. That is the whole point, man. By all means, man, get heavy into discussion and stuff. Nobody's calling anybody names. If somebody just wants to trade insults with folks, fuck off right now, man. There ain't a place for calling anybody fucking no names, man. By all means, man, everybody shout up and have this heated debate. But don't walk off crying or greeting. Don't say, don't need you, we don't need... It's meant to be here for everybody to debate. Dean, you say your point of view. Scott, you say your point of view. If you can't agree, at least fucking agree to disagree, man. Is that crazy? Or, I don't know, man. Is that not the way ahead? Otherwise, look at the amount of time, right, we've just spent trading insults. We could have went over there.
What stage were we trading insults?
Well, I don't know, man.
We
were talking about people calling you a baldy bastard and shit, man. I haven't heard that. I haven't heard that for any member in this room. If I heard that, I'd fucking probably not invite them back. This ain't a place for fucking people trading insults. It ain't a place for people bringing their arguments to the table either. Fucking discuss it, man. What's the problem with that? I mean, I ain't shutting you down, Scott. I ain't shutting Dean down. I ain't shutting anybody down. But let's shut down the fucking argument. What's the argument you had? Scott ain't a big fan of fucking Yellowstone, and Dean looks into it. Whoa, Mal, wow, we fucking breaking news. It's a Dean, you fucking shout to the helpmate about Yellowstone, man. Nobody's stopping you. And Scott, you counteract that and slag off Dabu 7 as much as you want. Nobody's stopping you. Everybody have respect for each other to fucking voice their opinion, man. Is that crazy days, man, or is that not the whole point of this thing, man?
I'd say so.
I'd say so.
Peter, I think you.
Yes, indeed.
Peter wrapped up. He summed it up brilliant when he said it was all T-Rex's fault. The dinosaurs should have fucking warned us in some cave paintings or something. Peter, you're right.
Them bastards.
So, man, let's not argue about stuff. We're sitting here, what's that, 15
I'll be
minutes?
honest with you, I do find this patronising and painful in the extreme. I'm sorry I've offended anybody by not sitting here, but I also realised that, as you said 20 minutes previous to this, that you had to knock this on the head at 10 o'clock. Okay? So, I would say, given this is twice in a row, apparently I offended somebody last Friday, and it was discussed on Sunday, although I was never asked to go to this. Obviously, it's not working out, mate. I'm maybe the wrong personality for this type of show, and I apologise, gentlemen, profusely if I've offended anybody. But as I said, I cannot sit and talk about things that are we've got no control over, absolutely no control over at all, and leave it as a topic for discussion when we all have lives, gentlemen. You know?
Scott, it wasn't that you weren't invited on Sunday, it was that we were doing a Sunday gun, which tends to be the same group that's been kicking about for some time now. This is the first time I've done something since Friday. Even on Sunday I said that you're welcome back. Same way that I welcomed, I want to keep calling him Neil, but I think it's Del Boy. Same way that I said, Del Boy, if you want to come on, batter in. And I said that to you as well, Scott. There's no grand conspiracy here to shut anybody up. I don't know, man. If you want to argue about Yellowstone and who's fucking right or like whose argument's best, batter in. But let's agree to disagree. And I don't know, talk about Yellowstone or talk about, I don't know, Castle Grayskull. I don't know. Let's move on and talk about something that can be productive with. It doesn't have to be groundbreaking information. It can be a general chit chat. But like, there's nobody here that's trying to get shut down. Scott, I don't want you to feel like you're getting ostracised or put on the naughty step or something.
Oh, believe me, I'm big enough and ugly enough to more than take that on board and whatever else. But as I said, you know, if you feel, and this I think needs to be said, if you think this shit is 20 years ahead, is 20 years away, sorry, then I'm sorry, that's not the case. And what I'm seeing just now, and I have good lines of communications with many people, and unless you find that for the next 2 years we will trivialize things and just talk about various subjects, that's fine and dandy. But see, I can assure you, see in the next few months, you're going to vitally need a lot of information. And I can assure you, I don't even want to name the subject. You can think of a subject. You're not going to give a flying fuck about that. And you will desperately wish that you had talked about things that were relevant and pertinent to now.
Right, Scott, you said you're big enough and stuff, right? So here, you just earlier on said that you felt patronised and stuff, right? So let's just see what happened here. You're patronising, and no point in any other elbows, no point in any elbows at all. But you're patronising people in the sense like, you small-minded little peasant. If you're not on the same page as me, you're 20 years behind.
Small-minded little peasant. Does anybody else here that's actually speaking think that what's happening as regards bringing in this new world order is decades away? If there is anybody else who has a mic, please tell me if you feel that this is 20 years away.
I think what we see is gradual change all the time. I don't know what you're talking about. You know, it's like being like a boiling frog sort of scenario. So I don't see any sort of. It doesn't need to be 1 year or 2 years or 5 years or 10 years. I think that's a logical fallacy.
Yep.
I would probably say like if anybody with a mic correct me if I'm wrong, the New World Order's here. It's been here for fucking ages. It's just slipping into a worse and worse scenario, and it's not about bloody stopping it happening. It's about stopping the slide. I've even mentioned that when I've talked about UKIP. I hate UKIP and all those sort of right-wing parties that exist in most European countries right now. And I certainly can. I don't agree with voting full stop, but I can see why people would vote for them. Maybe for the wrong reasons, but I think it might actually kind of stop the slide towards us. Scott, myself, I think it's been here for a while. In fact, I think it's been here since 1666. I mean, I've looked at the past, man. This has been a long time coming. They didn't just wake up in 1980 and go, we're going to enslave humanity tomorrow. It's been a fucking long time coming. It's been brewing. Scott, I mean, you were talking about Rollerball, 1974. Jesus, and you could probably go back to movies that were doing the same warning signs and predictive programming that were...
We're basically having this discussion because I had the audacity to weigh in on the fact of Yellowstone. That's what you're saying to me. And obviously, you keep using my name as the one detractor as opposed to anything else. So, as I said, I'll say nothing, you know, because whatever my input is at the moment is not appreciated. And as my personal philosophy on this one is to talk about things that are affecting us directly. We don't need a history going back 1,000 years, 2,000 years, or whatever else. And I'm sorry, the New World Order is not in.
If you don't know your history, you can't understand the present. I disagree with that 100%, man.
For example, if you look at the film The Soviet Story, there's another brilliant film. It was done by a Latvian. But a good example of what it showed in that was what happened in Hungary in the 1930s. 7 million people starved to death in a breadbasket of Europe. There was so much wheat you would not believe, okay? But it was an experiment by those in the think tanks over here and all the rest of it, implemented through communism over there.
How can you know that if you don't know your history? How can you know that to tell us if you don't know anything about history?
Because it's a fact. It's an absolute.
But you wouldn't even know anything about history to tell us that if you hadn't researched history. So how can history not be a pertinent thing to understand? It's a logical fallacy. It's absolute nonsense.
And there's no point going back 500 years, 1,000 years, 2,000 years to what we're addressing just now. The last 300.
You've just been back in history to give us that example.
I said there's no point going back 500 years or 1,000 years. There's no point giving us that example. Is there a point in history where it becomes a pertinent lesson? Or something becomes a pertinent lesson? Is there a salient point in history where something becomes a pertinent lesson? I would definitely say the last 200 to 300 years would be the max that I would go back. And
nothing to learn before that? Nothing.
Oh, absolutely. You're looking to get, I mean, obviously, call me naive here, gentlemen, but you're obviously looking to enlarge your audience, I'm assuming. Yeah?
No.
You're not here to enlarge your...
No.
You're not.
People in glass
one here that has a
people
problem.
In glass houses. People in glass houses.
I know you keep repeating that, but what are you saying there?
Possibly you're right. Maybe the time for our conversations came to an end.
Well, unlike somebody else, I won't walk away on that one. So, could you explain that one?
I don't think you're contributing anything positive to the group. I think you're a destructive influence. I've came to that conclusion.
Actually, I'm sure even those in the chat room might disagree with that one.
I couldn't care less.
Well, wait a minute. Let's look at that.
I couldn't give a shit. I couldn't care less about.
I actually made the effort.
No, chat room. See, don't talk over me, pal, because you do it with everybody else. But you don't do something you wouldn't do face to face. Don't chat over me. You know what I mean? Because
you're beating up. Is that what you're saying?
Don't be ignorant. I'm saying don't be ignorant and talk over people. Don't do something you wouldn't do face to face. Don't speak over people. Don't be an internet hard man. That's what I'm saying. I don't give a fuck what anybody else thinks. I don't care what anybody else thinks in a chat room. I don't care about audiences. I don't care about what anybody else thinks. I care about what I think.
I'm the person in here that's concerned that he doesn't want to enhance audience. He doesn't want more participation. He doesn't want.
Couldn't give a shit. Couldn't give a shit
about that.
Scott,
Why are we doing this?
He said he wasn't. You asked us.
That is not my motivation to gain a large audience. You sound like a businessman.
That was my prime. I would have thought that was a prime.
Yes, because we know you're a businessman. You know.
No, it's nothing to do with business. I thought that we were doing this to actually waken up as many people as possible.
Well,
I would
Scott,
have call me naive here, but that's basically it. You know.
You just said to Daiz, are you here? Are you here? This is your words. Are you here to build a larger audience? And Daiz said no, right? And then you went on like that. Well, so you're not here to wake people up. Daiz is fucking been doing videos.
So what are we saying here? You're not interested in enlarging your
audience? I wouldn't try and tell anybody what to think. It's up to other people what they think, what they want to subscribe to. You know?
Scott, that isn't what nobody's saying, man. I can't speak for Daiz, but you need to listen back to the words that are getting said here. You're trying to insinuate people only hear it because they want a large audience. What Daiz is saying is we've been here doing this, whether it's one person watching, two people watching. The more people that watch, fucking great, brilliant, right? Is this show going to be on if it's fucking one person or two people watching? Aye. If there's people here, if I'm speaking to Daiz, I've got fucking Google Plus, I play my internet bill, I'll stick this on, and I'll invite you back, I'll invite fucking Del Boy back, I'll invite everybody back. I mean,
it should spread naturally. You shouldn't have to force it. I'm not going to try and manipulate people into watching what I'm putting out there. I'm hoping that whoever sees and hears me will think that was useful, or how I found that useful. I'm going to share that with somebody else I know. And it spreads naturally, because if people are truly being awakened, they will start going through the same process and sharing this information with those they care about. So you don't have to force it on people.
One of the biggest criticisms, and it's very easily seen why this has been said, is my delivery on my videos. What I say, you shouldn't say it. And everybody's a fucking hypocrite. You should have said this, you shouldn't have said that, you shouldn't have swore there, you shouldn't have swore there. Fuck that. Turn on your webcam and you do it your way. And hopefully it will resonate with similar-minded people as you. I mean, that's one thing I've took away from this. I understand there's actually people out there as batshit crazy as I am, and I get them on my channel, and I fucking love speaking to them because it makes me feel less alone. It makes me feel less like, here, hold on, you are batshit crazy, go and sit in the corner. So, like, I don't know, man, this has went all fucking roads, fucking left, right and centre, man. I need to nip to the shop, guys. Coincidence? I think not, but I do need to nip to the shop. The room will remain open, man. It doesn't have to shut down at 10 bells. I can leave this open if everybody wants to chat away until Kingdom Come, man. That is an option. I'm nipping to the shop and I'm going to come back. Is everybody going to behave?
Nah, I'm off.
Yeah.
I'll catch you tomorrow.
Oh, Daiz, wait, fucking kick about, man.
It's not very productive now, is it?
Oh man, well, let's start making it productive again and fucking steer the conversation where everybody can have a productive conversation. Nah. Everybody here's got something to offer, man. Scott, you as well, man. Big style, mate. You've got a lot of information that's valuable to share and stuff.
I'll speak to you guys later on. I'll speak to you in the back trips.
No problem, Daiz.
Oh, Jesus, Johnny, man. Fucking hell. Happiness, happiness. Something that you don't possess. Peter, Cookie, Scott, Dean. Guys, I'm going to let the shop come back. Peter, why don't you tell us about chemtrails, man, while I'm away at the shop? I can see them out your window right now.
That was appropriate.
I'll be back very shortly, man. I hope the room is not emptier than it is when I left it. And even not Daiz, man. Fucking come back, mate. Don't fucking leave, man.
Oh, what was he? He looked at me. What was it? He said, "Don't be an internet hard man." So, listen. You give him my mobile number and just tell him that we can discuss this one.
This is crazy, man. The last thing I'm going to do is instigate a fucking internet fight, right? Sorry, grow up, Jen.
I'm sure we could meet somewhere quite civilly and chat about things.
Yeah, that's why I was smart enough to shut up.
I think I did as well, to a certain degree. But I don't see how you can say this was unproductive either. Because if
No,
anything, it just demonstrated something that is part of the problem of all the shit going on out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can find validity in both sides of the argument, and I can agree and disagree with some parts of either, etc., etc. And to me, it's a matter of what point in their own path are people on. Where the way you say something might resonate for some people, so it will help them move along, and somebody else might be in a different position to you, and they resonate with people in a different way, but it still works for them.
Well, maybe what we should be saying then, Cookie, is we need to go to groups, or individuals need to go to groups where they're like-minded on this, you know, because I have to be practical about things. What I'm finding out there is people don't want to be hearing about things from 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago. They want to recognise and deal with things that they're facing at present, which is causing them much grief, much distraction, more importantly, that they can't have the time to focus on other things because they're so worried about, well, call me old-fashioned, their bills, will they have a roof over their head, will they have food in their stomachs, etc., etc. And I don't think any of them give a fuck about Yellowstone or fucking tsunamis or fucking radiation or meteorites or people in other planets or whatever else. They don't want that. I mean, I'm sorry for fucking saying this. I just
Well, they want it because it distracts them from the things that are close to them.
I got my arse fucking ripped up for that one. And I
You
just
know,
think
the
to
further
myself,
away
"Gentlemen, I'm not being
the better."
productive here. I'm not.
I understand your point, Scott. And I also get
Yeah, honestly,
point
from what
us,
he said, I
of
would
getting an
have
audience.
introduced him to me personally. Oh yeah.
Yeah, okay, but the problem is that I think Daiz got offended by the fact that it's about an audience, that it's about us, and it's not about us. You know, it's not. We don't want popularity. We don't want nothing of that. It's not about that.
Well, Peter, I would have thought
We would have done this for one person alone. You know. If that one person is watching and having a great time, and we are having a great time doing this, yeah. Because if I was bored and I have something better to do, I wouldn't be doing this.
Yep.
Yep. So, and it's not about if there's one person watching or 1,000 or 1,000,000. Would be nice.
That's why I say I agree with both sides, because what you've just describes exactly the way I like doing things as well. To me, it's not a matter of trying to get an audience or reach an audience. It's for whoever's there. But at the same time, I can see Scott's point of view, and I agree with that if you've got something in particular to say, then find the people that want to hear what it is you're going to say. So if you want to talk about stuff like you mentioned, like bills and stuff like that, you know, the cost of living, there's loads of people out there who want to hear that kind of information. But I think the reason, I don't want to speak for him, but I think
the population.
But I think maybe the reason got Daiz upset about it in that respect is this environment was coming from the point of view of we're doing this for whoever it is that's listening. And if people have an interest in that kind of information, i.e. the stuff to do with Yellowstone or whatever, then certainly from my point of view, I'll speak only for myself in this respect, I would quite happily talk about that kind of information. Because to me, it's obvious that these people coming to look at it have a need to look at it. Where is that need coming from? What's driving it? Is it being manipulated? I would argue, yes, it very much is. So therefore, I have to make an effort to try and help them realise that it's being manipulated so they can deal with it in a much more healthy fashion and direct their energy for where it really is important for their daily lives. Yeah, so do you see what I mean about how, to me, it works both ways. Both sides of the arguments are right. And the fact that it's degenerated into an argument is just pure divide and conquer.
And a little nuance, Scott. I did say in when we did discuss what happened in that first Friday night in with the Del Boy, when we discussed that at the beginning of the show at Sunday. I did say we don't go push this any further because you are not here, and we don't.
No, I don't disagree with you. I mean, I actually heard that, Peter, and fair play to you for that. You know, I just thought it was wrong, especially when Kip said that he texted.
It got brought up, so
I thought, well, I don't have those texts.
Oh, but look, it's not that we're running away from this discussion, or we don't want this discussion, or it's not like that. But we have to try and do this in a civilized manner, and not like this, because this is not constructive in any way.
No, and look, as I said,
and somebody has to pull their dick in first.
I do believe.
I think this is a bit ego going on here, and I don't like that. So. Personally, but.
I do believe that what you're doing is a great idea. Absolutely. But
right.
Obviously, I'm not the personality for this one. I instill too much emotions on those things. I mean, I called it what I saw it last Friday. Only time will tell on that one. I'm pretty confident of the end result on that, but that will only take time. As regards I'm sorry if I offended. I wish you two gentlemen were as vocal when I was getting that push earlier on, because I would have respected you more for seeing it at the time, gentlemen. But
like when? Like just now?
Well, yeah, just now, after things have, and they've essentially walked off.
Yeah, but that's no point, because then you get muted up, and that's what happens.
Yeah, well,
you start screaming over each other over this. That doesn't work. This gets recorded. They can play it back and watch it back, and they can see our points of view.
The Society of Spectacle.
It's recorded forever.
The Society of Spectacle in the chat room said, Scottish independence vote coming up. There are important things we could help with. Right. Well, that's useful. Who wants to go with that first? I'm certainly choking at the bit. So, does somebody else want to say something first, or what?
Yeah, the one thing I wanted to say but you were still talking, so I'll let you carry on. I completely disagree on what you just said, because to me, you provide a foil for people to help them get through all that information. So you're taking it more personally yourself. You're saying that other people are being offended, but really it's you that's taking offence that other people are going, hang on, no, I want to look at this. See, you're contradicting yourself. You're encouraging people to think for themselves, but when they do and speak out, you take offence that they're speaking against you. So I would disagree on what you've just said. You provide a very good foil for people.
Last Friday you had an astroturfer on, you just don't recognise it yet, and over time that will be proven to be the case.
Well, here you go, Scott. We also discussed that, right?
Right, and on this
behind AstroTurf's back.
On this time round, I got put into the, put to the fire for saying that I thought that Yellowstone Park. Well, let's look at the facts. Let's explore that. As I said, there's nothing humanity that 7 million plus can do or change. There's no way that you can survive it if it did go off. Okay. There's no way that you could change any aspect of it. There's why technology in the world that could possibly do anything with it, which is HARPs and possibly that in relation to scalar waves. But as a conversation, what would we be saying? Meet your maker? How would you get peace with yourself as you're about to die in the following 24 hours? Because that's basically the absolute tops that you would survive under that situation. That's not theory, that's absolutely fact. I think we could all come to the agreement.
Good.
You go off with the equivalent of several billion megatons, and that would pretty much put lights out. So why discuss it?
No, that's fine. That's your point of view. Yeah? Now let's hear somebody else's point of view. Has somebody else have a point of view to this? No? Okay, fine, then let's move on. Why didn't that happen? Why wasn't it like that?
And
that should have happened. Why did we go into this whole stupid rant? And I think that's because that Dabu 7 distraction bullshit crap that got brought up and got slung in. Because then you dig that hole yourself at that point by bringing that shit in.
Why is it that, to me, you seem to be demonstrating a lack of empathy here? Because why is it you can't conceive that there could be people out there who've never heard that kind of information or perspective before? So they get lured in by the carrot on a stick of the fear porn. They're going, oh, what's all this information about Yellowstone? What's going on? Oh, what's going on? And you don't bother to tell them what you've just said in the space of like 30 seconds. You wouldn't even
I totally agree with that. I totally agree.
Can you imagine how painful it is for me, gentlemen, when I've had conversations offline with people on these subjects, and that those individuals who just had to go and do something. And this is why I discussed with them. I said, well, where are you planning on going with this? I said, because I really don't see the point of discussing things that goes back fucking 1,000 years, 2,000 years, 3,000 years plus, when what I'm getting feedback-wise, left, right, and center, is, you know, where does history really, truly, where you can see it, where it started to have an effect, where it is and where it is presently at now, and how quickly that is coming on, and how quickly things are moving into place now, and how to recognize what's going on, and how to actually affect any change at all those things and more. Absolutely. I have endless conversations with people about, for good reason. Some are clients. Now, if they're paying for that information, there's a reason for it. You know, as an example, you know, there is a reason for it. And let's be honest, no matter, I don't know about you guys, but I'm not sitting here as a multimillionaire. You know, so people are, for example, paying me for my advice on these things, and so I understand that, I have some understanding of what people want to know about in real time.
I'm live broadcasting for my golden carriage, so but that doesn't matter, does it?
And I don't do this for any comeback whatsoever.
No, that's not the point. I'm just sharing what I know.
I could argue
what you know.
Sociologically, the reason you are perceiving that the rest of the world has a certain criteria of agenda is because the customers, the clients coming to you, who are people in a situation where they have the kind of mindset that they will pay for this kind of information, then you're getting a very limited view of what's actually going on. You're only being told what's going on by people who are paying you to do something for them.
I mean,
look, I see where you're going with this, but it's not the case. I'm just saying as an example, not everything, not 100%. It's not everything. You know, I'm just saying, as an example, what I'm finding is people's concerns are in the real here and now. For example, the vids that are popular,
by what they say to me. And that, in general, includes things such as Yellowstone, because most people have this inbred fear of death. So that kind of information makes them go, oh, what's going on, need to know, and do the headless chicken dance. So to me, it's part and parcel of the conversation that I have again and again and again and again. You know, if you don't have the patience for that's the way it is, that's why I would say, well, really, you're addressing people who are already interested in the stuff that you feel is relevant. That's great, mate. Get on with it, you know. But don't try and force everybody else to be on your agenda, because otherwise we're just setting up another hierarchy.
What you're basically saying is this is an extension of some pub situation where we're just sitting here shooting the breeze and just discuss any subject at random because we've apparently got decades ahead of us in which to do so. It's essentially what you're saying, plus or minus, somewhere along the lines. That's pretty much what you're saying, isn't it?
Well, it's a place that isn't controlled, that people can bring whatever they want to the table. And people are allowed to talk about green fucking goblins if they want, man. I nearly slipped into my Alex Jones NLP there and talked about the goblin, the cabler goblin elves, as he always refers to them as. But Scott, man, this is a place for everybody to bring whatever they want to the table, mate. It's for nobody to dictate. Me, Cookie, Daiz, Dean, nobody to debate. So when I'm here trying to make sure that everybody respects each other's right to fucking talk, I can talk for France as well, do you know what I mean? So I need to learn to get myself to shut the fuck up. Dean's sitting there as quiet as a fucking mouse, man. Obviously get fucking shit he wants to say. I listened into what he done on Friday night, and I don't know, forgive me, mate, I was actually interested in the information that they were talking about. I was listening to it when 15 minutes of it when I was in the shower, and the rest of it I only caught bits and bobs. I was floating about doing stuff, so I never really got to sit and tune into the information. So I was hoping tonight, call me selfish, to have the opportunity to go, Dean, what was that script about Yellowstone? No, nobody's forcing anybody with a gun to go, here, listen to Yellowstone, this is going to save the planet tomorrow. And Scott, you're going about, like, people need to understand the local Masonic shit and the local control grid and stuff. Well, you ain't going to get that by just talking in big, like, big worldwide. You need to relate to people and what they're into, and then maybe you can impart something that they're not particularly fussed about. I mean, has that been horrible to sort of be this even goes what I was talking about with Big Brother earlier on. People seem more happy to fight, bitch and fucking moan at each other, come at each other with this attitude of I'm being straight on. I mean, where's the harm in having fucking manners? Or a bit of decorum, or being able to conversate with somebody without raising the level to a stage where people are getting on their high horse, man. I mean, I don't know, call me crazy, man, and I don't know. Clearly, this is a place for anybody who's got a point to get out. I don't want anybody to feel excluded. And moving forward, if people are fucking saying don't talk about Yellowstone, you're excluding the people that want to talk about Yellowstone. Nobody's excluded. Nobody can say anybody's excluded. Even I'm a bad dictator, so I can't exclude anybody. Everybody in all points are fucking welcome, and hopefully moving forward, people would respect the ability for people to voice it, even if afterwards they want to say it's bullcrap, I don't think it's important, I disagree with you on that. Brilliant, bring that to the table, man. I don't know. Welcome back, guys. So, behaving yourselves.
Welcome back from the shop.
Right, I had to catch it before 10 o'clock, man. So call it a conspiracy, but the shop shut at 10 in Scotland. This room is for everybody and anybody in all points of view, man. And ultimately, I think even like if you have to be a bit dictatorial, it's going to have to be people are going to have to let other people's opinions get out. Otherwise, it's just going to shut it down to a lot of folk, man. A lot of people, Scott, as you've often said, and I think you've got a hell of a point to make on this, mate, about getting people's confidence levels up and allowing them to have the ability and realise they've got something to come to the table. I don't think that's to be achieved by when you're sitting in the company of somebody that you may perceive as fucking, I don't know, how do you say it, like not as knowledgeable or on the same page as you, and trying to sort of make them, I don't know, trying to shut them down, man, or belittle them. And I don't think that was where you're coming from, Scott. I think your initial point.
No, absolutely. He completely took it wrong, and I've been vilified in a lot of respects based on what I'm hearing, not by yourself directly or whatever else, but it's just the general theme. And you know,
nobody's getting get vilified.
It really wasn't said. It really.
It's also positive.
At least let me answer. At least let me answer. I'm saying that all I said was, and that didn't go down well, and all it could have been said was in a sentence. What pains me as an individual is the fact that it went on and on and on and on.
Great, let's draw a line under it.
And you know, as an individual, you can imagine when you're hearing that and then being said, what was it, fucking internet gangster or words to that effect? Believe me, that you can understand that just doesn't wear well with me. So you can understand how I'm a tad annoyed about that. That's all.
Well, everybody's got the right to be annoyed. Do you know what, Scott? I can understand why Daiz was pissed off
up on his invitation and show him that I'm not an internet gangster.
Right. I need to say one thing here, man. Anybody's going to fucking threaten anybody about any bullshit, man. I'm talking about fucking blowing farts in their direction.
I'm very glad you said that.
Right now. Anybody, get the fuck out this room. This room, it's not about fucking idiots. Oh, Jesus, man, I'm more angry than everybody. What the fuck is... Right.
Well, you can imagine how offended I was with that.
Right, everybody's offended. Let's draw a line under it and move on, man. Scott, you were talking about solutions and shit. What's your solutions to the worldwide problems, mate? Let's move. Draw a line under it. What do you want to talk about, man?
Well, actually, I was actually wanting the chat room to say something along the lines of what are they feeling themselves, because I think they're not saying enough. After all, if they're in the chat room to chat, by all means, say something. You know, what's affecting you guys directly, and girls, of course. What are you wanting to know about? Solutions.
Now you've said that, Scott, I'm going to dip into the chat room in 1 wee second after I roll a cigarette, which I'm getting into trouble for because my girlfriend's watching me smoking. But I'm not smoking, it's an illusion. But everybody batter into the chat room. I think I'm right. Scott's saying what's affecting people on the local level. Because I don't know, man, I've said this for a while. I see, people can talk about, Jesus, man, like, look at the love that's happening in Ukraine. Look at the love that's happening in Iraq. Look at the love that's happening in Syria, Libya. I mean, the list goes on and on. So what's affecting people on the local level? Me personally, the people I know in my social circles, everybody's feeling the pinch. It's even starting to affect the good slaves. Even the good slaves are now feeling the pinch. And shit, man, I don't mean that in a derogatory term. I hope people that know their slaves understand it. We're all slaves together. You're
Paid slaves.
So, Cookie, what's affecting you on the local level, man?
Finding work. That's the main thing, lack of work and the pressure that's put on you by the benefit system when there aren't any jobs there, but they constantly chase you as if you're avoiding jobs. You know, it's classically part of the ideology at the moment to demonise the poor and the working poor and the disabled and everything else to create those subclass groups. So that's where I feel it in the neck. And in local community, I think it's pretty similar because the little town I live in is semi-rural. So it's a satellite town of a big city, Birmingham. So it picks up a lot of unemployed people from the old rural trades. As farming has become more industrialised, there's less work on the farms and stuff like that. So there's more unemployment in these little villages and towns all over the country. So it's similar for most people, I think, around here.
Well, people like Cookie, man, exactly, man. Like, what's affecting people on the local level? The ability to fucking eat and heat. I need to talk in generalistic terms because this shit can and will be used against you in a court of law. So in generalistic terms, what you're talking about there, Cookie, I don't know, man. You might have heard all the rhetoric that's coming out for the job centre and the DWP, where they're rocking about and calling everybody clients. And let's say, for instance, you ain't been a good slave and you ain't ticked all the boxes that they want you to tick, so they turn around and say, hey, see that benefit you were having? Pulled away from you, right? Now, there's people in these circumstances. There's people actively fucking using food banks and shit, right? And when you rock up to maybe some organisation that could offer you some support or something, one of the things they ask you, because you've been cut off for fucking everything, is, so what are you living on? How are you surviving? As if you've got some sort of a secret fucking Swiss bank account or something. And I found myself going into diatribes of, like, I could speak to these people for months upon ends without answering any one of their questions. But so what came first, the chicken or the egg? What came first, man or government? Do you know what I mean? How the fuck did human beings get to this overpopulated scenario if we're so fucking bad? Have you noticed the rhetoric coming out for the job shop and stuff, Cookie, with you're a client now?
Yeah, definitely, because if you take notes, you'll probably notice that most of the, if you notice this notice, you'll notice this notice, most of the paperwork that they shuffle about in the offices now has got a Serco stamp at the top of it. So it's a good demonstration of how all these bureaucratic structures that are supposedly run by your government in proxy by your authority for your benefit are actually now operated by privately owned corporations. You know, there's that aspect to it, and then I could rant forever about the ideological aspects of the inversion of them reversing the guilt onto people who are unemployed or disabled or whatever, and that's deliberate tactic. You know, the people who are in your government are not at fault. It's you. It's your fault. You're fit enough to work even though you're a paraplegic. You know, you can still push a button with your head, so therefore you're fit for work. It's all that kind of shit. Yeah, that is.
Don't worry, guys, because Holland has the solution for all your problems. We don't have any unemployed anymore soon. The way they do it here is the low paid jobs. You get fired, you get the benefit, and then you have to work for your benefit, so you get that low paid job back, but then for your benefits. And if you don't show up like 2 times or a little too late, they cut your benefits with 20%.
Sounds
if you
familiar, Cookie?
do that again, then that's the way it works here. So, and it's even voluntary work now.
You find as well, I think this is true for a lot of people. In general, when I talk to people in general, you know, family, friends, and general people just around and about, you know, the public, most of them don't seem to really conceive the fact that a lot of the benefits in this country are paid to what are called the working poor. So the people who have a job of some kind, but it might only be part-time, or it might be a 0-hour contract or some shit like that. So they're still having to be supported by the benefit system.
The benefit.
So there is a merger between the people who are unemployed that are being pushed into workfare kind of setups like you just described, where you're having to work for your benefit, and the minimum wage people who are stuck in that working poor situation. The two are coming together, so you're ending up with that mass underclass that is being paid for by the corporate churn, but in effect they are supposedly unemployed, or the non-working classes.
Well, it's something that the government wants. That's one thing for sure, and it's the European version of the American prison system, I think, where you have a working force. Cheap.
Well, Peter, what you were saying there about what's happening over in the lowlands over there, man, and the reason I said to Cookie sound familiar is it sounds almost identical, right? But obviously has to vary in certain ways because of the different systems that they're coming from. But
no, I don't think so.
Well, mate, it sounds almost identical. It's getting rolled out here, and it's
in Germany as well. There they call it €1 jobs because they actually get paid €1. The employee has to pay the government €1 for those workers.
Slave labour don't come cheap.
Symbolic.
And Peter, like, I don't know whether any of you guys caught this. I was actually talking about something I caught in the BBC, and it was a cook programme. I was going to say 2 fat Italians, but it was 2 greedy Italians, and they're going over to Italy. Obviously, being British Italians, not real Italians, but anyway. And they went over there, and they've got to this slave pen. They go to this slave pen, and in this slave pen, they have all these slaves producing fine wines, fine cheeses, fine, I don't want to get this wrong, but fine hams and whatnot. I went and looked into this thing, man. It's corrupt from the day get-go. There's been murders put in this place's plate. They've been caught chaining people together, whipping them. It's Peter, you described it as a cult. You actually seen the similarities between Waco and stuff, and it was everybody's happy because the common taxpayer, the common slave, doesn't have to fit the bill for the perceived outfit, the perceived rejects of society.
Yeah, it's not just that we're just a consumer, we're also just a product to certain companies or certain individuals. So it's also with the elderly. They're very much with the elderly because there's a lot of elderly coming because of the generations and the I don't know, the low since the birth control thing. I think since condom, yeah, it's not going that well anymore.
I think it's only fair, guys, to dip into the chat room, man. I think it'll be actually quite interesting, to say the least. So let's see what they're saying, man. So it's very hard to try and get some context. So, a lot of us want to know what else is going on, and it's up to the people to take the information or not. Fair point, Jean's pretty pup. I'm not saying that as a go at anybody. I'm just trying to read through the chat room here. My girlfriend's saying boys in the playground. Society saying BBC Charter used to be to educate entertain and inform. Well, society, man, I'd love to touch on that because I looked at it's not fresh in my memory, that's for sure, but I looked into the Royal Charter, and one of the things that stuck into my mind that at the time I believe was still part of the Royal Charter, which allows the BBC to exist. You know, this Queen goes, "Oh, my government will now allow the BBC to exist." So part of the BBC Charter was to deliver fair and unbalanced news. I would argue the contract's null and void after they take fucking grants and bursaries from the EU. Beetlejuice is in the room. I don't think I gave you a shout earlier on, so nice to see you in the room, Beetlejuice, and another view's in as well. So let me see. There's how you doing, John S? See you in the chat room, mate. Nice to see you, and as always. And I'm not ignoring anybody's comment. I'm just a very bad reader and trying to find things that are relevant rather than you chatting amongst yourselves, which I do encourage, by the way. It just makes reading the comments even harder for me. There's Jean's Pretty Pup saying, I don't even listen to Dabu. Good stuff. Freeman stuff. Good, James, I do too. Beetlejuice maybe talking about old Freeman Fly stuff there. And again, I even came up with the Freeman Fly conspiracy earlier on, but I would urge people to go and listen to his stuff. I love that guy's stuff, man. He knows the esoteric stuff inside out. This is from Dabu, total crap. Friday the 13th, incoming CME, impact, full moon, solar flare, EQ, CME, impact, wrong. Well, I think that we could argue that's what Cookie was saying earlier on. That's the climbing for clicks kind of thing.
Yeah. Clickbait.
Sorry, what was it? How did you mention it, Cookie?
Clickbait.
Aye, clickbait. Aye.
Yeah, he forgot to mention Justin Bieber or Kim Kardashian.
Did any of you guys ever see my Justin Bieber clip?
He's not a New World Order fashion reporter.
A good YouTube channel for that stuff is actually a YouTube channel called Black Child. He does some excellent work as regards explaining the Hollywood aspects.
Cool.
I'll see if I can grab that up on YouTube. Black Child, all one word, Scott?
No, two words. Black Child. He does some very good stuff indeed.
Right, there we go, top results. So there's his channel. People want to go and check that out, man. I'm not subbed myself, which
worthwhile subbing him, definitely.
Oh, I subbed to.
I'll sub it as well.
I honestly subbed to fucking some amount of channels, man. But I've shown people in the past.
There's another one. Don't ask me to spell it.
What does it sound like, Scott? Sorry.
Dendros.
Dendros. Right, I'll try and see if the Googles recognise it.
Dendros. Yeah. He was one who was very much quick on the case of things like 9/11, but for other reasons, and he does some very good videos. He really does.
I've seen a Dendros TV channel. I'm not sure if it's our kind of shit stuff or what, but nah, it's no.
It's maybe a different guy.
Animation. Aye, that's a different dude, man. So if we come across his channel at some point or find the correct spelling, we'll certainly drop it. And anybody that knows it, batter it into the chat or whatever. So.
Well, you mentioned Hollywood. I watched the
oh yeah, I've got it. It's XNDRIUS. Zendros. Or maybe I'm pronouncing it wrong.
Oh, Zendros. Sorry, I had a D.
Zendros. Right.
They've worked in the call centre. That isn't a conspiracy. Speaking over Skypes and telephones and stuff, your D's and your B's and your D's and your Z's all drop into one. That's why we have phonetics.
Zendros does some excellent stuff on the more occult aspect as well. You know, like just now he's focused on a lot of what the magicians do. And, you know, you've got to watch these vids and you're like, wow, seriously. You know, because, you know, the fact that people aware of what they do, I just go, wow, that's just good tricks. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's more than good tricks.
I noticed Daiz is in the chat room, man. Daiz, that reminds me, man. gutted you dropped out, man, because I wanted to say to you, I've spoke to my cousin, man. He definitely wants to try and do something. I think the script is he's kind of wanting me to hold his hand for a wee bit just till he gets to grips with stuff and gets a bit more comfortable, which I can only imagine will take him about fucking 5 minutes, to be honest, Daiz. So he'll definitely be doing something for us, man, and then we can have a gay man's opinion as well. Have some gay chat. I think that's what he wants to, like, me and my cousin were having a laugh, and I think he's going to call his show Gay Chat, but I don't know whether that was us just having a laugh or what. But there's Beetlejuice, more CIA love in Iraq and Ukraine. Well, let's even touch on this, man. I'd be interested, man. We've got a good room together, man, so I'd be interested in what people's thoughts are and what's happening in Iraq. It's a mind feck at the best of it, man. All I can see is the ISIS or IS, Islamic State of Iraq and Levant, whatever ISIS I'm going to stick to. Now, anybody correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm no expert, but I believe they were obviously, they came into being in Iraq as the Americans rocked into Iraq. I would strongly argue under the control of, if you can't beat them, join them. They were used heavily in Syria with American, British, Western support. Putin has handed Obama's, in my opinion, Putin has handed Obama's ass to him in Syria, and Russia has won that conflict hand down. They've even had the theatre of Assad being re-elected, which is, I don't know, it's theatre, but it's no more theatre than your UK or American elections. And again, it's anybody that stands above any man and claim to have authority to tell them to do anything I disagree with. But I don't know. I wouldn't say I'm happy that Russia's won in Syria, but it's kind of like the UKIP thing. It's probably stopped the slide, I would argue.
I mean, you know, you go back to people like Anthony C. Sutton again. You know, he discusses in great detail these books you can buy at Amazon or whatever else. He goes into great detail of how America, the UK, and others funded, you know, everything that went to create Russia, you know, after 1917, and possibly, arguably before, but certainly after 1917, and even how even in the Vietnam War, when the American pilots saw, hey, wait a minute, are the American trucks? Well, actually, it was built. It was the biggest fucking Ford plant in the world was actually built in Russia, you know? That kind of insanity you just can't buy. Yep. So if you type in Anthony C. Sutton, you'll find enough on YouTube there to keep you very busy and to take that argument out of the equation. Because if he doesn't convince you, I don't think anybody could. But, you know, that is, as we discussed earlier, kept about the smoking millers.
I would love to stick into the mix what I see happening as part of the bigger picture. As like, I'll mention all these conflicts as it goes on, because a lot of people still subscribe to we went over to Iraq to steal their oil, right? But that absolutely fails when you sort of understand that America prints the fake bits of paper that buys the oil. So it's cheaper for them to print the paper to buy the oil than it is for them to send over people there to die. We've even talked about this. I think we're talking about world wars at the time, and the so-called memorials. I see them as more tributes to the sacrifice deliberately paid in lives. So I think the oil fact is bullshit, right? And this is not me to say that the oil is not a contributing factor in a lot of things. It's a resource that will be fought over. You look what's Iraq.
Albert Pike discussed that the Third World War would happen in the Middle East. That's certainly, you know, the gentleman that did Morals and Dogma. Remember, a lot of people argued that it was what he wrote in that and other books that is part of that plan.
Well, like all the Crusades before it, so that's nothing new.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the Templars, a good example. Yeah.
Yeah, and if they fail this time, they'll try it again later.
But another one, just to recommend, if anybody's interested in watching it, is the royal red dragon bloodlines. And the reason why I say that is it starts off showing you, you know, our wonderful queen, but it goes into backgrounds of aristocracy right round the planet, including the Middle East. That in itself is well worth watching.
Well,
Yeah, I believe I shown Kip the picture of Berlusconi's villa, his garden.
Oh yeah, with the snake eating the
With the dragon, yeah, it's a dragon.
Which is basically, remember, that's also the Alfa Romeo logo.
That's also there. Yeah.
I
But
think-
it's a Vatican thing.
Yeah.
Stems from there, I think.
even touching on like what we've spoke about a few times, so why not once more Freeman stuff that he done on corporate logos. I mean, for me that was an important step for me to understand that it's how large it was, because he dissected, and I would say that I can see what he was saying, and not because I just blindly accepted what he was saying, because when I watch these stuff I'm like, what's he saying here? And then when you actually go and dip into the doctrine and all that, the squares and all the symbols and signs that they use, he's so spot on when it comes to almost every corporate logo. I even talked about George Square, man. If you go to George Square and you go to number 9 George Square and number 11 George Square, on number 9 you have a building that was built in about 1920 odds by the Corporation of Glasgow, now commonly disguised as Glasgow City Council, with fasci all over it. Now, you could argue whether fasci is a symbol of fascism, whether it's a symbol of state power, whether it's a symbol of together we are stronger than the one, hence the bundle of sticks strapped together. But then, if you look next door to that building, which would be number 11 George Square, you have I've never found out the age of the building or whatnot. It's obviously older than number 9 George Square, but it's got the O and the X, right, which is the Roman numeral for. Sorry, it's got the circle, then it's got the X and the I, which is the Roman numeral for 11, obviously. So perfectly explainable away by having a Roman numeral. But if you look more into if you look into Fox being 666 numerically on the modern day English alphabet, you've got
and the drink you were drinking a few days ago, remember, with the 360 sitting in front of you, and you know the one I'm talking about?
Monster.
Yes, indeed.
So am I the Illuminati because I drunk
No. And you knew I wasn't meaning that, sure.
No, mate, but if people out there suggest that shit, man.
It's only when you drink Tiny Tangerine, you know that.
I'm just saying it's another example of 666 in plain sight. Do you see where I'm going?
That shows you how embarrassed I was about it. Peter knows my secrets. I actually get my Tiny Tangerine and put it in a monster can just to disguise it.
But you agree, it's another example of where they're putting 666 in plain sight.
Oh, it's everywhere, man. Go and look at the
like
Boots
the National Lottery and Disney and
Boots.
Almighty. And as I said
Everything
before, Kip, if you look at the amount of property companies in Scotland alone, I've not even checked England, but the amount of property companies in Scotland alone where 666 is in the phone number, it's beyond belief.
Well, Scott, when you were talking about Monster there, like the 666 is there for everybody to see. I mean, go and look at the can of Monster, go and look at the Hebrew alphabet, which Fal equals 6. I'm probably murdering that there, but you can go and clearly see it. And Daiz made a very interesting point the other day, man, when I was talking about this. And it was along the lines when I was talking about the 3 nails that's on the Jesuit symbol. And the 3 nails represent the 3 nails that went to nail Christ to the cross. Now, and I don't know, maybe it is me, but I can see the relationship there between the 666 in the Hebrew, and them could be perceived to be nails as well, which would represent the 666, and then the 3 nails of Christ, which would then suggest that if you can see the representation of a nail as the letter Phal in Hebrew, you could suggest that there's 666 on the Jesuit sign as well. I don't know whether that is just some deep thinking about stuff or whether there is something there, but when they said that, I think you could, as clearly as you could see them representing the Hebrew and stuff, you could see them representing the, you could maybe suggest that they could possibly represent the nails as well. Very interesting, man. Conversation starter, man. We should have kicked off with that. Right, guys, well, that's 10:30. So it's only fair we dip into the chat room. Now, as I said, man, I'm more than happy to keep this room going if you want. That is not a problem. So I'll...
No. Let's not make this in another 4 or 5 hour show. Let's not do that.
8 hours, come on. So just a shout out to the people that have rocked up in the chat room. Rustic Blowfish, definitely been in the chat before, I believe. There's another view even, and Blazing Stars, definitely been in before. There's John S in again, Ratio Perfect, and Jesus, I can't read at the best of times, so if I pronounce anybody's name wrong, do it fast on and put my name's pronounced bass in the chat, and I know how to pronounce it. Olamit's in as well, nice to see you back, man. There's Jean's Pretty Pup, and Lorraine Keegan, which is a new name, which is good, man. So, and Pedro Yaya in the chat as well. So, and Kapil Patel's in. So, great to see everybody in the chat as always, man.
Did you watch Spin yet?
No, mate, I haven't got round to watching it. I've downloaded it, but I haven't watched it yet. Somebody gave me it out of their illegal CDs.
Yeah, I was going to fucking say
DVD collection.
You're going to have to be a wee bit less subtle.
I don't.
You should watch Edge of Tomorrow as well.
Yeah, to say you acquired it, yeah.
I watched Edge of Tomorrow today. That's pretty funny as well.
Edge of Tomorrow? I've not got that one.
No, I definitely convinced that Kip will enjoy that spin. It was done in 1992, and it was by a guy who realized with the technology at the time that so many of these live satellite feeds, it wasn't hacking, you just, had a piece of technology on you, and it was so easy to catch all the channel feeds, especially during that run up to that election. And the information that he gleaned off that was utterly phenomenal, because you were seeing them in real time, seeing things that you're like, wow, you're jaw-dropping stuff. It really is a very good vid, even although it's now, 22 years old, where you're actually seeing the spin and the levels that I would say were previously, just completely unheard of. To see it visually is phenomenal.
Just managed to get up for people that's watching a wee bit of a screenshot for IMDb for both Spin. I believe it's the right version, back in 2007, Scott, does that sound about right?
No. It was 1992, definitely.
Right, let me... and for Edge of Tomorrow as well, that was 2014. That a recent one, Peter, the one you were watching. Just out of curiosity, say for instance somebody was bad enough to want to illegally download that, is there DVD quality available yet?
Nah, not really, but it's okay, it's watchable.
If it helps, the documentary called Spin was done by a gentleman called Brian Springer.
I don't know, Scott, I don't know if you can see the screen share there, mate. What I've done is just obviously brought up a lot of the spins, so you've got like Spin City, Spin 2000, so it seems a very popular name for movies, man. So
if you just type in
Spin 95, does that sound right?
Well, it would be 3 years after Yeah, pirated
What?
satellite feeds revealed US media personalities' contemptuous plan for their viewers come full circle and spin. Yeah, that is definitely. And by the way, it's not got a bad rating either, is it? I mean, to me, it's one that I would certainly recommend as a wake-up type
But
movie.
Scott, look, there's a conspiracy there. The plot summary is written by Anonymous.
Yeah, of course. Well, well, look, you've heard me already say I have no faith in Anonymous. They're bought and paid for. They are military-industrial complex. There's only an idiot would believe Anonymous was actually existing for the good of the public.
Too easily corruptible.
It's just
Not to say that anybody subscribes to that's a bad person, because I've met a lot of people that I think are cracking.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm
Nah,
saying
no,
the
no,
organisation. The organisation, just there's anybody that's got any technical background or any understanding of the military-industrial complex would know that anybody that thinks they're a, greedy hacker is kidding themselves on.
Oh, Cookie, I actually wanted to speak to yourself, man. I know you've been, for research purposes only, Cookie, watching 24, and it was only like I'd seen a few of the things with their, I can't remember what they call it, hack sect or whatever, but they're anonymous-esque hackers and the drone memeing that was going on. And now that you mentioned it, man, I cannot believe I didn't see it, mate. But you were talking about the Black Widow thing that was going on.
White Widow.
Oh, sorry, the White Widow, and even more so, mate. Since you've said that, and I've caught up the last couple of episodes and whatnot, man, it's quite horrible the way they're just painting.
That's how they call the Chechen terrorist women, right?
Mm-hmm.
Al-Akrazi or something. So she's got an English accent. The mother's got an English accent, and the daughter's a typical good-looking. Oh Jesus, I'm going to get flack for that. A typical good-looking English woman. But obviously they turn out to be the big bad demons that everybody has to watch and be aware of. So be afraid. Well, Peter, I've just noticed there, Edge of Tomorrow, Tom Cruise.
Yeah, of course.
Oh dear.
That's why quality doesn't really matter. That's what he's trying to sell.
I think there's another sub theme in 24 series as well, which might not have shown up to you. The fact that the American president, is supposedly suffering from Alzheimer's.
Again?
You try to say they're saying it's George Bush?
And Reagan?
No, it's very. Remember, this is an American-made show, and it's going to be primarily fed to an American audience first. That's its target demographic. So they're planting this seed in the public's mind that the reason Obama seems so crazy is because maybe he's actually losing his mind.
Are you saying that they're offering this up as like I'm laughing because I think I can see this. They're offering up as plausible deniability. Well, America's no bad. Obama was just.
I think if he doesn't actually step up to be the Dark Emperor and turn out to be the Dark Emperor, even though again it's just another puppet, but if he doesn't go the whole dictatorship route and actually go along that line and take up that position, then I think they will more likely sacrifice him in some way. They'll impeach him, or they'll bring him down character assassination wise, and then they'll build up the public's fervour for a new change of face. It's like when they got rid of Nixon. It's like, oh, don't worry, folks, we'll sort it out. We'll get rid of this nasty, horrible guy who's been breaking the rules, and you'll have a chance to elect the new great saviour who'll fix it this time, and he'll be an honest guy. Honest.
Actually, I still feel that there is a good chance that good old Hillary, no matter what, will.
Yes, yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah.
I want to say.
Did you ever see the Clinton Chronicles?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, fuck me. Seriously, that was wow. If that went out to more people during that election, there's no bloody way he'd have got in.
Yep. And it's why
there are videos about Hillary as well.
I mean, yeah, she's shocking.
Worse than that.
And there's still, to this day, a trail of blood following them.
What was
Yeah.
it, about
They leave
50?
bodies
Honestly,
all
it was about
over the
50
place.
different people died on the road to his inauguration. That was easy
Yep.
for me to say. Yeah.
Yeah,
That was
his
just
or
the
hers.
And that's just the hookers.
No, seriously. Honestly, when I was one of these naive individuals in the 90s that actually had some hope for that guy until I saw that. And then
Who's your
you
Tony
marry
Blair?
with the drug stuff from Mena, Arkansas. Oh, jeez. How anybody could have let him in. Oh, jeez. He's probably one of the most crooked presidents of all time. He was so
Guy-
up to his neck in coke, it was just ridiculous.
Guys, listen to this for something. Jesus, man, see if I could work my phone, it would be great. Listen to this for something to keep an eye on. Peter will know what I'm talking about here, and when I heard it, it blew me away. Everybody's aware of Hillary Clinton hitting her head 9 months, a year ago, somewhere around that time frame, and then her disappearing from the public eye, let's say. She then gave Secretary of State away to John Kerry, and then seemed to melt back into the background, preparing herself for the presidential run. Now, Peter, did you hear the thing, mate, on the No Agenda show when they were playing the clip of Hillary Clinton and saying that she was brain damaged?
Mm-hmm.
How convincing was that, mate? I mean, she couldn't. It was like, yes, my name is Hillary Clinton. And guys, I know I can't do a Hillary Clinton impression, but bear that in mind next time you hear her speeches and see if you can actually see the guy's hand coming out her mouth. I think she's a walking corpse. I honestly think she's a walking corpse. I don't think she's got little to no brain facility left, and I think she's just getting used. Man, Peter, did you hear that clip? Was that not just the weirdest thing you would ever hear in your life?
Yeah, but then, look, these people do all sorts of stuff.
Too much coke before the interview?
Well, that's for the masses, but they got better stuff. So
MDMA?
yeah, some very good wine. And scotch and you name it. So no, they got all of them got the issues.
Oh well, they have got
substance issues.
She's certainly rumoured to have a witchcraft background.
Hell
If
yeah.
you ever watch a thing called Bloodlines of Salem, spelled Salem, the Bush family. I think it was done in 2008. It's not actually long. It's only like 5 minutes or something. But what are 5 minutes? Oh God, yes.
Well, I wouldn't call it witchcraft. I would call it Satanism. She's a Satanist.
To me, they're all one and the same when you look at it.
No.
That
Yeah,
leads us on.
There's definitely different flavors of the same scene, but
If you believe
There
in the
is common
Disney witch,
denominator.
yeah, okay, then fine. Then she's a witch, but
That leads us nicely on to our next argument. I mean, our next show. But honestly, man, I'm going to get it in the balls, guys, if I don't
Yeah.
shut up
Yeah.
shop
You
shortly,
did
man.
say 10 o'clock and it's now 22:11. So.
Aye, you better believe I'm going to get fucking reminded of that. But listen, I've already said this. If people want to get this kept on, man, I could happily run the room in my absence. But
Nope.
I don't
We'll
know,
continue
man.
tomorrow. Well, I am.
Well, definitely, man. Gun tomorrow, man.
Oh yeah.
Nobody's excluded. Scott, like, mate, you're not excluded for Sundays and shit because, I don't know, because whatever, you're Illuminati or shit. It was because Sunday tends to be the people that's been involved with Gun for Day Dot, man, so it's tended to be the same sort of group of folk. When we're doing a lot more stuff, man, I've said, man, you are welcome back, and I will welcome you back, man. Even if it is just to get fucking everybody arguing again, but hopefully we can fucking take the information and fucking make stay away from the argumentation, maybe, I don't know.
Well, as I said, I mean, I am a wealth of information on those subjects. If whether I'm selling it the best, that's arguable, and I won't deny that one. At the end of the day, that's that. You know, I have a very tenacious personality. I've had to be over the last few decades because I've gone through the pain that probably you are going through just now.
And if Scott hasn't left a comment in the chat room, I think at some point it'd be a good idea maybe just even say hi, and people that want to go and check out Scott's YouTube channel, see what he's got to say on the day-to-day ins and outs. It's not a regular vlog, but he puts out a hell of a lot of information on news articles coming out. I would say primarily in the UK, but I wouldn't say that you primarily focus on that, Scott. That's probably just because you stay in the UK, funnily enough. I've liked Scott's channel for a long time, and I will continue to like it, man, and I will continue to hit there for information and stuff. So I urge everybody to go and check it out. Make up your own mind. Daiz has been in the chat room. Batter into the chat room. Go and check out Jay's. I'm pretty sure Daiz was in his Daiz Independent News, so that's where you'll get his news and stuff. Definitely make sure you get yourself along to fractalfrequency.co.uk. That'll be the place to find out what's happening with Daisy's network moving forward and stuff. I don't know if you're gay or you like gay people. Stay tuned, because I'm going to try and get my cousin involved. Not because he's gay.
But he dresses better.
It's not because he's gay, it's because he's costume. No, man, so I'm going to get my cousin involved, man. See, the thing is as well, I've not seen him much recently, but when we do sit and chat, he's politically minded, so it's interesting conversation. He certainly fucking by no means is on the same page as me, so the first few times we have a chat, man, it'll probably be just me and him arguing with each other in a nice way. In a nice way, we won't be offering each other into the schoolyard and shit, but we'll be arguing with each other. And he'll be hopefully getting his pals involved and stuff, and make it because he's I get the impression that he's with a lot of politically minded people. He was at the Scottish Independence March and stuff. I think when I spoke to him a few days ago, he was slagging me off because I was slagging the Scottish independence thing, obviously, just through my fucking hatred of voting. My opinion has changed since then. I think if you're inclined to vote, why not vote in the yes campaign? There's enough people I hate trying to persuade you the other way for me to think that it may shuffle things up a wee bit. Barack Obama getting involved, all the usual clowns. I'm trying to think of the Fed Reserve guy, but you've got the same guy in the Bank of England. Bernanke.
Bernanke, the present one.
I'm not saying you're right, Scott.
Oh, he's out. There's a woman now.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
It's not still Ben Bernanke?
No. It's a woman. I cannot.
I know you're thinking of the World Bank run by, well, on the surface.
No. Bernanke has been replaced by a woman.
All right.
Peter can't think of her name.
Women take over.
Peter can't think of her name, but he will sculpt her boobs. It's Jay Carney. That's the name I'm thinking of. Jay Carney, was he no in the Fed as well, and now he's in the Bank of England, or is it the European Central Bank he's floating about? But it's all the same players. Not fucking Goldman Sachs cock boys, man. Going to take over the rest of the countries. So, Jesus, man, this has been good. Saturday
She
night.
took over on the 3rd of February 2014. Janet L. Yellen.
Yeah, Yellen.
My
That's
God.
Which nationality she's got? European?
Well, with that name. Right. She was. They don't really. Let's have a look. Yellen is a professor at the University of California, Berkeley. She was. It doesn't really tell. If it does, it's way down the list. Like, it's more about.
She was born in the same laboratory as Obama.
Possibly.
Uh-oh, she's a Jew.
Oh, well, that was what I was trying to avoid saying, thank you. That's what I was saying. The name might lend, you know. I mean, imagine if I'd said that. Fuck me, they'd have been out
Don't
there
worry,
with,
I'm Dutch. I can say that.
you know, with hangsman's nooses and, you know, torches.
But perfectly fine here.
Peter can say that. He had
Looks like she dated Bill Clinton as well.
What? She's Bill Clinton's bit of the side, man.
Well, who's not been
She
with
worked for him.
Oh, mate. How perfectly would that fit for her to be part of the Clinton clique? When
She's from Brooklyn, New York.
Brooklyn in the house.
She's 67.
MILF.
So
Born
2
on the
years from now,
born
we
on
can
the
really look into
13th. Born on the 13th. So I bet you a Friday.
Nah, it wouldn't surprise me.
Well, guys,
No,
just
but it's true. Look, Peter, it is true. The amount of times that numerology seems to play a part.
Yeah,
A good
yeah.
example in the last, what was it, say 30 years, was when it was actually, whose presidency was it? Was the actor,
Reagan.
Reagan, yeah. His wife was actually quite honest and upfront. She used to say that she made all her decisions by numerology and that she was in touch with, you know, various guys involved in horoscopes and all the rest of it. In fact, that was one of the few times that that was ever admitted in a presidency.
I remember Kev saying a lot, man. That, I can't remember where the quote came from. I'd probably argue it's probably true that some, I think it was a banker or something, said that some people look at the stars, the elite live by it. Oh shit, I've murdered that, so I probably shouldn't even fucking bother saying it. But anyways, Cookie, before we shoot, my friend, have you got anything you want to get off your chest, man?
Hairy Stamen.
Hairy statement.
No, Hairy Stamen.
Oh.
S-T-A-M-E-N. It's a secret to the universe. Having
In fact, before we all sign off, another vid, if everybody who we've already recommend vids to have already watched the other vids, believe it or not, was mainstream. Eyes Wide Shut. It was the last film that Stanley Kubrick made. Strangely enough, died 4 days after he sent the the master to Hollywood. He died 4 days after he made that vid. Just coincidental, of course. But there's a vid that you should acquire.
And I definitely check that out, man. I mean, I don't know, it's kind of shows you. Oh, in fact, fucking go and check out the Rothschild Chateau just outside Paris.
Oh, the one with the 1,000 points of light. Yeah. I know the one you're talking about.
It's genuine, and I can't remember exactly how it fits in, but it wasn't Stanley Kubrick, but somebody involved in the production of that movie was at the Rothschild's Chateau, and I hate fucking going on about Rothschild's, but the Rothschild Chateau in France, and you can, I don't know, I broke it down, man, once when it was very interesting stuff. So I'm going to...
All Kubrick stuff is interesting. Everything he made.
There was an argument that Kubrick was involved in the moon aspect.
Oh,
there was an awful lot of data.
Don't go there, because then we are gonna run late.
well, let's not forget before we go that Van Allen belt. You know, you need about 6 feet of lead just to go through it, but we apparently managed to do it with a quarter of an inch of tinfoil. You know, so many times in a row, and yet we've never been there ever since. And even although the Russians did 3 man-hours to every one of our one, they never ever went to the moon. You know, they never did any of that. And yet
the Chinese recently did, and their electronics broke down.
Yeah, but nothing with a human body involved in it.
No, hell no.
Yeah. But see, that's the thing about the Van Allen belt. You know, the Van Allen belt, which protects us from solar radiation.
Yeah, I think space in general is not good. It's not just if you have an element.
We apparently managed it so many times in a row, and never since then, never ever been anywhere near the Van Allen belt that encapsulates the whole of the Earth, and you'd have to go through there. And remember, you'd need about 6 feet of lead.
Well, and at least when you're on the moon, make sure that your suit is pressurized all the times. That's sometimes on, sometimes off. That's pretty important too.
And make sure that you take away the stage props that are marked A, B,
Yeah,
C.
so, I mean, God, what was
and
it? What was that red
photographs.
flag? I put it up on my YouTube, and it was, I nearly had my YouTube taken down because of it. What was it? Something happened on the way to the moon. Yeah, that was what it's called. Do you remember
Yeah,
that
that's a
one?
good one. Yeah, that's a
That
classic.
was excellent because that was a video where they're actually showing you. Remember when the video thing popped up and it was still recording, and they show you taking the insert from the window of the side of the module, and there they are in low Earth orbit. I mean, you can't beat that kind of data. But you try putting that one up on your YouTube channel and kiss your days on YouTube goodbye.
Guys, man, I'm going to get my balls booted, but I need to ask you about this as well because I love the moon thing. What about the thing when apparently the first lunar module that went to the moon and landed, right? If you can, like, let's forget about the Van Allen belt and stuff. I'm not saying it's not true. I'm just saying let's look at the further hypocrisies.
Yeah.
You've got that. Look, how can you describe it? The cinematic view of the module just launching away, and the camera kind of calmly panning up and catching everything picture perfect.
Absolutely. And remember, you know, it was like, what was it? It was actually Patrick Moore. Remember when they came back? And it was Sir Patrick Moore, who, God bless him, is now dead. Naively said to them, so, did you take a camera with you? Did you actually record those stars without our atmosphere and all the rest of it?
See the stars?
And you know what they all said? What stars? No, actually, we didn't actually look at any stars at all. It's just like, and why is it that all these fine men, and believe me, I think they were put under major pressure, none of them, what was it, the head of NASA retired literally a day before the launch. Yeah. The list is endless of horrible things.
Look at every sci-fi movie that's out there with shots of the moon or shots on the moon. You can see the stars. There's not even a sci-fi director saying, well...
But unfortunately, if you have to be
no
doing
stars?
this...
Well, that's totally unrealistic for a sci-fi movie. Let's not fucking do that, because that's hard to sell. You know, that's
and even what we're talking about, guys, Space Odyssey. I mean, there's as you are probably familiar with, and I'm probably going to regret going into this. The camera and the shots that Kubrick took supposedly could have been used to present a fake moon landing, because I'm pretty sure Kubrick had access to a NASA camera.
Yeah, it was a Japanese lens that is in existence. There was only so many of them made, wasn't it, Peter?
He also used it in other movies, in the Orange...
Let's put it this way, the lens that they've made, I think it still exists to this day, doesn't it, Peter? There's only a couple
some
of
fisheye lens, special fisheye lens.
Yeah, and they're still as good as anything you could bring out today. I mean, it was that ahead of its time.
Yeah, and he used it to make those running shots where they run in that circle also.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, this was phenomenally put together with, you know, tolerances within strange degrees. I mean, it really was, you know, decades ahead of what anybody else had out.
Yeah, well, that's what makes it sci-fi. The science fiction, the science fact of it. You know, it's based on science. And that's why when you look at sci-fi movies these days and you see shots from the moon, none of them do a totally blacked out moon. None of them. Because it's bullshit.
What's your views anyway, Pete, before we finish? Do you believe in the moon landing?
I think the best side is Wag the Moon Doggy.
Wag the Moon.
Mm-hmm.
So, Peter, Scott, I think...
So no, we didn't go. I don't know. No. Militarily, I would say yes, but for the public, no.
I'm not saying they never went to the moon, but they fucking never did it in the Apollo.
No, not with the Apollo shit. No.
See, this is the thing I was going to regret, man, because this makes me want to speak for another half an hour. But I would agree with
Listen,
you.
if you're a masochist and want your balls kicked as part of foreplay, carry on.
Yeah, Daiz, man. No, like the moon lands. I fall into the camp. I think we have been to the moon. I just don't think anybody's came back from the moon. I think they've turned up their fucking nuclear. Like, they've not turned up there in a healthy state. I do believe human beings have been to the moon. They ain't came back, and we certainly have not seen any of the pictures. And the Apollo stuff was just a joke. I mean, can people not make the absolute common sense analysis, man, right? If you look at the bigger picture back in the day, Cold War, Russia bad, America good, we need to beat them. Do you think America's
Listen, the doofus or the idiots always say, but we got the moon rocks.
And remember the money they made. Remember,
Well, if you ask the scientists, they will call the moon rocks that come from the Apollo mission Apollo rocks. They won't even call them moon rocks. Yeah, and the moon rocks they got are the Russian ones. The Russians brought back a shitload of Russia with a fucking robotic thing they shot there. So they got a lot of moon rock.
The Russians were less concerned about us turning up back home mutants.
Well, the Russians were first on everything. They were first on Mars. They were first on Venus. They were first on.
But there was
if the mystery is anywhere, it's in Russia.
They were given. But remember, the main reason for that was like so many American and UK companies that handed them the technology in amounts. There was more of the technology in Russia than there was in their own countries. That was insane. You know.
Yeah, the Apollo rockets were Russian rockets. The engines were Russian. So if it wasn't for the Russians, the American couldn't even fly.
And the Germans, let's not forget the Nazis. You know, with the V2s.
Mr. von Braun.
Yes, Werner von Braun, who used to be an ardent Nazi, then thanks to Operation Paperclip, not an ardent Nazi.
Wow.
And let's not forget Operation High Jump. That's another one that's well worth the researching of anybody who has a spare minute or two.
Well, guys, just before we go, I better unmute before I try and speak. Dean?
Yes, mate.
Thanks for you being here, man, as always. Ask Cookie if you had any parting words, man. What about yourself? And please don't say yeah.
I just need to go to the toilet and match is kicked off. Yeah, England's kicked off on it, so I've been trying to get
all right.
Yeah, I need to go. But I just left you talking. But no, I have nothing to add. Nothing at all, really. It's entertaining.
Well, Peter, you get any parting words, man?
Thanks for watching.
The dinosaurs this all.
Yeah, bastards.
Nah, they should have fucking made some cave paintings, lazy fucks.
Yeah.
Told us to beware of the
I'm
government.
disappointed in them, man.
They paint all these glorious pictures of T-Rex and stuff. At least they could have done is scratch a few warnings on a cave painting somewhere, man.
Yep, can I just jump in, mate? I'm going to love you all and leave you. I'm going to say good night because I need toilet and I want to watch Matt. So,
good night, Dean.
I'll catch you all tomorrow.
Catch you tomorrow, Dean.
And good night. Thank you.
Good night, Dean.
Night, Scott.
Dean, Gunn will be on tomorrow, mate. I'll give you a shout tomorrow, man. See if you're ready to bounce in for that, mate.
Yeah, no problem whatsoever. Like I said, no hard feelings, Scott, mate. It was just my part.
Absolutely. It's called passionate debate. I have no problem with that one.
Yeah, it was just my point, how I felt, and I just had to get it across, buddy. That was it. It done as far as I'm concerned. So, like I said, anytime. Nice talking to you all.
Always,
so,
mate.
Have a good night, Dean.
Right.
Dean, man, you're welcome here as much, if not more, than everybody else at any point, mate. So, batter in, stay in touch, man. I'll give you a shout. Well, I'll give you a shout tomorrow, man. See what about tonight, man.
I've still got Facebook open because I'm watching it online. So, because as you know, I don't have a TV, so I watch it online. So, I'll speak to you all tomorrow anyway.
It's 1-0?
Say again? I don't know. I'm missing it. Don't tell me.
I'm sorry.
Right, I'll catch
Come on, come on out, Italy!
Well, I reckon we're going to lose 2-1.
Peter, you couldn't think that any better for me, mate, man. And I'm sorry, I'm not anti-English. I'm just Scottish. I like to see you lose at World Cups because we ain't there.
Shit, man. I just like watching them lose as well, actually.
Well, I don't know, man. It's even Daiz was saying earlier on.
Apparently
man,
the scoreboard had a glitch because now it's 0-0 again. So I'm sorry.
The media is a lie.
FIFA's fault. I think it's Blatter. Blatter is behind it.
I can hear them all chanting on estate here. So it's like all pissed up chanting.
You got your England flag out, Dean.
I don't be stupid, man. What the fuck would I want that out for?
I didn't hear you sing the national anthem. I'm a little disappointed.
You know, the video I put up today on my YouTube was specific
God
to the email story about how everybody was watching things online and the BBC was crying about it.
That's why I push it now to put the watching on streaming onto.
Yeah, they're actually talking now about putting it onto your council tax. Would you believe it? Seriously, that's where they're angling for.
That's the way it's going, man. It's like we've said, like even when Peter explained to me what it goes on over in the lowlands and the continent, and as a whole, the TV license exists. You just don't know it does.
Right, so chaps, I'm really going.
Yeah.
Right,
Nice.
good.
Same here.
Dean, Scott, Cookie, Peter, catch you guys tomorrow. If I don't, catch you the next day after. If I don't, the day after that, whatever. Thanks to everybody turning up, man. Everybody is welcome back, man. I swear to God. Everybody's welcome back, man. Moving forward, hopefully, we'll get to a stage where, I don't know, everybody can feel they can chip in with their 2 tuppence worth, man, and all feel appreciated, man.
Love, peace, and happiness.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that was me watching too much EastEnders. But guys, man, fuck it. I've enjoyed this, man. I've had a cracking time.
Yeah.
Cookie, fuck you! You're trying to fuck me up for the cookie.
Right, I'm definitely going. Good night, lads.
Hey, worry when he starts saying, "Hey, Cookie, big man."
Catch you tomorrow, Dean.
Good night.
Catch you tomorrow.
Good night.
Cookie, night. Peter, good night. Scott, good night, my friend.
Good night. Good night. Good night.
Again, I don't feel asleep yet, man. I'm doing well. Pedro, I'll grab you tomorrow, man, for GUNN.
Yeah.
Scott, you've got my details, man. Keep in touch. You're welcome anytime, man. You bring something to. You bring something to the argument.
He brings Dutchness. He brings Dutchness to the conversation.
No, man, I certainly know about. Honestly, I can't.
Thanks for being a punch bag.
I can't.
You're welcome, honestly. Seriously, why do you come up with handsome?
I can't express it enough, man. It's got to be a place where everybody feels free to rock up, man.
Dude, we've all been there, man.
No, I think Peter,
Who's
you need to be there
fellas?
more. You're too cheesy grins smiling about this, you bastard.
Well, maybe I'm past it already.
Seriously, I'm going to start looking at the Dutch conspiracy.
Well, yeah. Well,
Wouldn't it be funny
good
if they were
topic.
the head of the tree? Really? Yeah.
Scott, you heard me tell you earlier on it's all the Dutch fault, mate. I
I
can't
would like
remember.
to hear an outside perspective on the Dutch. Yeah, that would be nice. I'll give my version on the Scottish people.
No, don't do that.
Slowly killing us all by Gouda.
We've got too many fat bastards on the fucking Hollywoods, man.
I'll dig up some leprechaun cave. No, man.
Right, Scott.
Hey, it was fun, man.
Brilliant, man.
Another gun done.
Speak to you on the other side, guys, right?
Yeah, good job back. You're back, man.
I never went away, mate. I just fell asleep.
Yeah.
Right, guys.
Hey, cheers, man. Good night.
That's bad boy.
Shame like the sun. I'm grateful for making the shade spread on me. The shade laid on me that I can see that I've been in the dark for too long. The shade spread on me. The shade laid on me that I can see that I've been in the dark for too long. Oh, there's nobody in life that is nobody ever issue. Oh, there is the issue. Oh, there's nobody in life that is nobody ever issue. Oh, there is the issue. You shade spread on me. You shade laid on me that I can see that I've been in dark for too long. You shade spread on me. You shade laid on me that I can see that I've been in dark for too long. You shade spread on me. You shade laid on me that I can see that I've been in dark for too long. You shade spread on me. You shade laid on me that I can see that I've been in dark for too long. You shade spread on me. You shade laid on me that I can see that I've been in dark for too long. You shade spread on me. You shade laid on me that I can see that I've been in the dark for too long.
Thanks to Daiz, Fractional Distractions, everybody, every member in the band for our time gun done. Catchies.